Very good evening to all of you. We will start the session after 5 minutes. We'll wait for 5 more. Good evening, sir.
सर प्रणाम, सर प्रणाम, नमस्कार सर, प्रणाम।
नमस्ते सर।
प्रणाम
सर, प्रणाम सर, प्रणाम सर।
गुड इवनिंग सर।
प्रणाम प्रणाम। आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
यस यस सर, यस सर।
हेलो।
हाँ, आवाज आ रही है सर।
अच्छा अच्छा। हाँ, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ आशीष जी हैं?
हाँ, यस सर, सब अभी जुड़ेंगे सर, अभी जुड़े नहीं। डॉक्टर मुकेश कुमार सर है सर।
अच्छा ठीक है, जब भी जुड़ जाए। मैं हूँ, ऑनलाइन हूँ, रास्ते में हूँ। हाँ, जब भी होगा आप मुझे बता दीजिएगा।
जी सर, नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार नमस्कार मुकेश जी, ठीक है?
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल सर।
कितनी देर में शुरू होगा?
आज सर वही 5 मिनट के अंदर शुरू हो जाएगा सर।
अच्छा।
सर प्रणाम सर, नमस्कार सर, प्रणाम।
नमस्कार डॉक्टर ओमकार, नमस्कार नमस्कार। वाइस चांसलर साहब जुड़ पाए क्या? कुलपति?
यस सर, सब वाइस चांसलर सब जुड़ गए सर।
अच्छा,
सब है सर ऑलरेडी।
ठीक ठीक ठीक। तो
सर नमस्कार।
नमस्कार सर, नमस्कार 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 सभी। हमारे गेस्ट जुड़ पाए हैं बाहर से?
सर अभी नजर तो नहीं आ रहे हैं। क्या
सुप्रभा का है?
सुप्रभा क्या स्टेटस है?
सर मैंने उन दो सर और मैम को मैसेज किया है, वो लोग जुड़ रहे हैं।
ओके ओके, सो लेट अस नो व्हेन दे ज्वाइन।
सर श्योर।
आप आस्तीक, आपका एको हो रहा है साउंड।
ओके सर, एक
सर प्रोफेसर विनय स्वरूप सर जुड़ गए सर। विनय स्वरूप मेहरोत्रा सर।
नमस्कार सर।
प्रणाम।
नमस्कार
नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार।
मैडम का भी बताएं तो फिर हम प्रोग्राम शुरू करें फॉर्मली। सर आपका स्वागत है।
धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, थैंक यू।
नमस्ते सर।
नमस्ते सर, नमस्ते।
सुप्रभा जी।
यस सर, यस सर।
मैडम जैसे जुड़ते हैं बताइए, फिर हम शुरू करते हैं।
श्योर श्योर सर, मैं बताती हूँ।
हमारे वीसी साहब भी जुड़ चुके हैं।
ओमकार सर प्लीज लेट मी नो मेरा साउंड और क्लियर हुआ या नहीं.
हाँ अभी क्लियर है, इससे पहले एको हो रहा था, नाउ इट इज क्लियर.
थैंक यू सर.
मुझे लगता है कि समय हो रहा है, तो हम ऑनरेबल वाइस चांसलर साहब.
Sir, I just talked to ma'am. Ma'am is joining in 1 minute, sir. She'll just join. Okay, sir.
Okay. मैडम जुड़ गई है शायद. डॉक्टर माधुरी दुबे जी नमस्कार.
नमस्ते, नमस्कार सर.
थैंक यू सो मच फॉर बीइंग विद अस. ऑनरेबल वाइस चांसलर साहब, सर नमस्कार.
नमस्कार.
सर आपकी अनुमति हो तो.
आई एम जस्ट ट्रैवलिंग
तो मैं आपकी अनुमति चाह रहा हूँ, शुरू करूँ सर मैं.
या बिल्कुल आप शुरू.
थैंक यू सो मच. तो प्रोग्राम को ऑफिशियली शुरू करें.
Thank you, sir. The School of Education, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, wishes all of you a very happy and enthusiastic World Youth Skill Day 2022. A very good evening to all of you. I, Astik Mishra, Doctoral Research Scholar, School of Education, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, welcome you all in the celebration of World Youth Skill Day 2022, and also welcome to the national webinar on reimagining TVET and transforming youth skills in India, organized by School of Education, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar. Now, I call upon Suprabha Day, Doctoral Research Scholar, School of Education, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar, for Saraswati Vandana. Over to you, Suprabha.
Thank you, Aspek. या कुंदेन्दु तुषार हार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्मच्युतशङ्करः प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापः शुक्लां ब्रह्मविचारसारपरमा आद्यां जगद्व्यापिने वीणापुस्तकधारिणीमभयदाम् जाड्यान्धकारापहाम् हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदधते पद्मासने संस्थितां वन्दे त्वां परमेश्वरी भगवती बुद्धिप्रदां शारदां बुद्धिप्रदां शारदां बुद्धिप्रदां शारदां. Thank you. Over to you, Astik.
Thank you, Suprabha. Now, I invite Dr. Mukesh Kumar, Associate Professor, School of Education, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar, for the formal introduction and welcoming of the guest. Over to you, sir.
थैंक यू आस्तिक जी. वर्ल्ड यूथ स्किल्स डे के अवसर पर महात्मा गांधी केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय पूर्वी चंपारण बिहार के शिक्षा संकाय द्वारा री इमेजिनिंग पीबीईटी एंड ट्रांसफार्मिंग यूथ स्किल्स इन इंडिया विषय पर आयोजित इस राष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठी में मंच से जुड़े हुए सभी विद्वज्जनों का मैं स्वागत करता हूं, अभिनंदन करता हूं. बहुत बहुत स्वागत है, अभिनंदन. आज के इस कार्यक्रम के संरक्षक विशेष रूप से महात्मा गांधी केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय पूर्वी चंपारण बिहार के माननीय कुलपति प्रोफेसर आनंद प्रकाश सर का स्वागत करना चाहूँगा, जिनके प्रेरणा मात्र से इस कार्यक्रम का आयोजन हो पा रहा है. सर, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है और अभिनंदन है. सर, पंडित सुंदरलाल शर्मा सेंट्रल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ वोकेशनल एजुकेशन के ज्वाइंट डायरेक्टर प्रोफेसर विनय स्वरूप मेहरोत्रा सर इस मंच से जुड़े हुए हैं. प्रोफेसर मेहरोत्रा सर कृषि रत्न जैसे सम्मान से सम्मानित हैं. इसके साथ साथ कई अन्य सम्मानों से भी आप अलंकृत हैं. आप नेशनल वोकेशनल एजुकेशन क्वालिफिकेशंस फ्रेमवर्क, नेशनल स्किल्स क्वालिफिकेशंस फ्रेमवर्क ऑफ इंडिया, पॉलिसी गाइडलाइंस ऑन वोकेशनल एजुकेशन एंड ट्रेनिंग के डेवलपमेंट में भी आप सक्रिय भूमिका निभा चुके हैं. इन दायित्वों के साथ साथ बहुत से अन्य दायित्वों का भी निर्वहन आप कर चुके हैं, जिनका मैं उल्लेख नहीं कर पा रहा हूं. सर, आपकी उपस्थिति हमारे लिए गरिमामयी है. सर, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है, अभिनंदन. नेशनल स्किल्स नेटवर्क की फाउंडर डॉक्टर माधुरी दुबे जी इस मंच से जुड़ी हैं. आपने करिकुलम स्टडीज, एजुकेशनल पॉलिसीज एंड इम्प्लीमेंटेशन पर अपना पीएचडी शोध कार्य पूर्ण किया है. ट्रेनिंग, करिकुलम डिजाइन, ई लर्निंग, डिजिटल मीडिया एंड मार्केटिंग के क्षेत्र में आपका बृहद अनुभव रहा है. साथ साथ नेशनल स्किल्स नेटवर्क से जुड़ने से पूर्व बहुत सी मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज से भी आप जुड़कर कार्य कर चुकी हैं. आपकी उपस्थिति से इस संगोष्ठी का आयोजन हो पा रहा है. मैडम, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन. इस कार्यक्रम के सूत्रधार एवं महात्मा गांधी केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय के शिक्षा संकाय के संकायाध्यक्ष प्रोफेसर आशीष श्रीवास्तव सर, जिनके सहयोग एवं दिशा निर्देश के बिना इस कार्यक्रम का आयोजन संभव नहीं था. सर, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन. विश्वविद्यालय के समस्त सम्मानित संकायाध्यक्ष, विभागाध्यक्ष, संकाय सदस्यगण, प्रतिभागीगण, विद्यार्थीगण एवं शोधार्थीगण, आप सभी का इस संगोष्ठी में स्वागत है. इस संगोष्ठी का आयोजन शैक्षिक अध्ययन विभाग की छात्रा सुप्रभा डे के अथक प्रयास एवं परिश्रम का ये प्रतिफल है जो इसका आयोजन हो पा रहा है. औपचारिक रूप से मैं उनके प्रति भी उनका भी स्वागत करता हूं. एक बार पुनः इस मंच से जुड़े हुए सभी विद्वज्जनों का स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन। ओवर टू मिस्टर आस्तिक जी।
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Now I invite Professor Anand Prakash, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar, for the words of blessing. Welcome you, sir.
थैंक यू वेरी मच। आज वर्ल्ड स्किल डे पे, वर्ल्ड यूथ स्किल डे पे आयोजित इस कार्यक्रम में हमारे साथ जुड़े आज के मुख्य अतिथि प्रोफेसर विनय स्वरूप मेहरोत्रा जी, हमारे साथ जुड़ी प्रोफेसर दुबे जी, प्रोफेसर आशीष और उनकी सारी टीम, जो और शिक्षा संकाय के सारे सदस्य जिनके परिश्रम और जिनके मेहनत से आज ये कार्यक्रम आयोजित हो रहा है। मैं सबसे पहले आशीष जी और उनकी पूरी टीम को बधाई देता हूं कि इस प्रकार के कार्यक्रम उन्होंने कराना शुरू किए हैं और बहुत सारे ऐसे कार्यक्रम कराते भी रहते हैं। तो आज ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण विषय इन्होंने चुना है, जो कि आज के युवा से संबंधित है। भारत, हम सभी जानते हैं, अक्सर ही सुनने को भी मिलता है कि हमारे पास सबसे ज्यादा युवा हैं और उनके स्किल्स पे ही हमारे देश का भविष्य निर्भर है। तो आज इस वर्ल्ड स्किल डे पे जो भी अभी हमारे विश्वविद्यालय के छात्रों के लिए, हमारे अध्यापकों के लिए, हमारे जो और लोग इस आभासीय माध्यम से जुड़े हुए हैं, सबको इससे कुछ ना कुछ टेक होम मैसेज मिलने वाला है। जहाँ तक स्किल्स का सवाल है, हमारी जो नई राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति है उसमें भी स्किल्स पे बहुत ही ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस दिया गया है। स्किल ट्रेनिंग और उससे रिलेटेड जो भी प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं गवर्नमेंट के, और जो नवाचार करके विश्वविद्यालय अपने लेवल पे स्किल ट्रेनिंग के लिए योजनाएं बनाते हैं या बना सकें या जो चल रहे हैं, उनके लिए सरकार हमेशा ही कुछ ना कुछ हमें देने को भी तैयार है और उसके लिए प्रोत्साहित भी कर रही है। तो ऐसे अच्छे सेमिनार में जो भी भागीदारी कर रहे हैं, मुझे लगता है कि सभी को बहुत अच्छे से, क्योंकि जो वक्ता हैं मेहरोत्रा जी हैं, दुबे जी हैं, ये ऐसी चीजों से जुड़े हुए हैं, कई कार्यक्रमों से जुड़े हुए हैं, ऐसी संस्थाओं से जुड़े हुए हैं जहां इसी पे चर्चाएं होती हैं, ट्रेनिंग होती हैं। तो इनकी बातें सुन के और उनको आत्मसात करके और उस तरह की पॉलिसी बना के डिपार्टमेंट लेवल पे, स्कूल लेवल पे और विश्वविद्यालय काम कर सकें और युवाओं में एक नई ऊर्जा भर सकें और उनको प्रेरित कर सकें कि वो कोई ना कोई स्किल के लिए काम करें। वो विश्वविद्यालय के पाठ्यक्रम से अलग जाकर भी, जो अब हमारी न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी अलाउ भी कर रही है, ऐसी स्किल ट्रेनिंग भी कर सकते हैं। उनके क्रेडिट भी इसमें ट्रांसफर होंगे विश्वविद्यालय में। तो मैं चाहूँगा कि इस प्रकार की जो सेमिनार्स हैं, जो आज तो बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है, इसके आगे का रोड मैप बनाने के लिए भी कुछ इस तरह की बातें करने के लिए कुछ ना कुछ अगर एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट करता रहेगा तो हम लोग सभी लोग स्किल से रिलेटेड या इसके रोड मैप से रिलेटेड जानकारी प्राप्त करते रहेंगे। और मैं इन्हीं कुछ शब्दों के साथ एक बार पुनः डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन, स्कूल ऑफ एजुकेशन और उनके सभी शिक्षकों को और जो भी इस प्रोग्राम के कोऑर्डिनेटर हैं आशीष जी को और जो स्टूडेंट्स जुड़े हुए हैं, सभी को बधाई देता हूं, अभिनंदन करता हूं और इसी के साथ अपने वाणी को विराम देता हूं। धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. I now call upon Professor Ashish Srivastav, Head and Dean, School of Education, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar, to introduce us to the theme of the program or to tell us more about the theme of the program. Over to you, sir. Welcome, sir.
थैंक यू आस्तिक मिश्रा। मेरी आवाज स्पष्ट है?
बहुत अच्छे से।
Okay. At the outset, I would like to congratulate Ms. Suprabha De and all research scholars, all the students for arranging such a wonderful evening at Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Department of Educational Studies, School of Education of this new university, emerging university, feels immense pleasure in welcoming our respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Anand Prakash Ji. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing your valuable time for us. Presence of all senior members in our in our this virtual platform, making our happiness manifold. Thank you so much for being with us. I welcome all my colleagues, Dr. Mukesh Kumar, who is convener of this program, Dr. Rashmi Srivastava, Dr. Manisha Rani, Dr. Patla Tomkar, all the deans and heads of different schools of Mahatma Gandhi Central University, all the learned colleagues and research scholars, students, and learned audience who have joined from across the country. I am happy to see the number of audience. Today is a great day when we are welcoming two known authorities on the issue. Professor VINAY MEHROTRA Sahab, Joint Director, PSSCIVE, and Dr. MADHURI Dubey, Founder, National Skills Network. Truly speaking, and let me share very honestly that I am touched by the humility of both of our honorable guests today. It is because of passionate and dedicated personalities like you, the system is not only surviving but also leading to. So I welcome both of you on this virtual dais with the belief that soon both of you will be our guests in the campus physically. So thank you so much, sir and madam. Welcome you all. Today is July 15 and we are here to celebrate World Youth Skill Day as announced by United Nations General Assembly in 2014. Frankly speaking, I will not say much on it as Ms. Suprabha De, the wonderful, dedicated, hardworking and a scholar with a great vision is going to share in detail. Suprabha is working on it in her PhD thesis. Entire credit for the program goes to Ms. Suprabha De and her team. Let me share with you all that I am truly fortunate. This department is truly fortunate that this Department of Educational Studies is having good team of research scholars. Guided by brilliant faculty members, and all scholars are organizing such kind of events. And I'm truly touched by both the experts who have given consent to the scholar itself. So Ms. Suprabha has assigned me to brief the theme of national webinar, that is reimagining TVET for the youth of India. And therefore, just to set the tone, I would like to recall here sustainable development goals, because we all know that technical and vocational education and training, that is TVET, has an important role, very important role to play in implementing and promoting sustainable development. The TVET is that part of education system that provides courses and training programs related to employment with a view to enable the transition from secondary education to work for young trainees and supply the labor market with competent apprentices, in turn addresses both the social as well as the economic objectives. So TVET has been proved as the key for skill development. With this feature focused on a specific occupation, and it has allowed individuals to find a skills related job and start their own employment. So TVET stands a major player in economic growth of a nation through development of workforce and the rise in employment rate. So keeping in view the importance of demographic dividend, because we all understand the value of demographic dividend, importance of demographic dividend. So keeping in view the importance of demographic dividend, such event and such exposure will be of immense importance. So I again congratulate all the scholars, all the colleagues of School of Education for creating such a wonderful momentum and academic environment at this new and very young university. I welcome both of our highly learned guests once again, and I request all the audience to take out best from this event Language is not at all a bar. Wish you all good luck. Thank you one and all. Thank you. Thank you. Over to Astik ji.
Thank you so much, sir. I now invite Suprabha Day, Doctoral Research Scholar, School of Education, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar, to present her ideas on reimagining TVET, taking insights from Tagore and Gandhi. Welcome,
Thank you, Astik. Just let me know if my slides are visible, okay?
Yeah.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Thank you so much. My pranam to all the respected dignitaries in the national webinar on reimagining technical and vocational education and training and transforming youth skills in India. So, as Ashish sir has already mentioned about sustainable developmental goals and how it very much addresses towards TVET, I'll straight away go to what is TVET. So, as per UNESCO, TVET or Technical and Vocational Education and Training is defined as comprising of education, training, and skill development that are related to a wide range of occupational fields, production, services, and livelihoods. So, why do we need TVET, or why is there is a crucial requisite for TVET in this era? So, sir has already mentioned, and we always come across this word demographic dividend of India. So, as per the SRSS report 2018, it is said that about 66% of the Indian population is in the working age, that is in between 15 to 59. So this acknowledges the very requisite for TVET in itself, as the young population of India, if given TVET provisions, if given proper skill training or given provisions for vocational competencies, it can very well help them in transforming them to be an asset for the nation, in helping them to contribute towards the socio-economic development of the nation. Another reason is the rapid increase of globalization that is changing the need or requisite of the labor market. The third reason, which I really find very important for the need for TVET, is the migration of laborers to other states in search of jobs. Now, being in Bihar is one of the states which is very high in young population, whereas maximum of the young generation, there is a notion among the young generation in Bihar to migrate to metro cities in search of job. I think if given a chance for TVET provisions through formal education, it will not only help in educating the youth towards formal employment, but would also inculcate the spirit of entrepreneurship in them, therefore making them self-reliant. Also, COVID-19 is another very important reason which has shown or highlighted the faults which remains in the system that has affected the implementation of TVET. So, making it brief, I would focus my slides on the vision of Rabindranath Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi. Both Rabindranath Tagore and Gandhi envisioned an education that can lead to the holistic development of individuals. When I say holistic development, Gandhi and Tagore both envisioned an education system that can cater to all the three domains of an individual, that is cognitive, affective, as well as psychomotor. So when we see the philosophy, educational philosophy of Tagore, we find that the songs, poems, festivals, curriculum, pedagogy, as per the educational philosophy of Tagore, in itself inculcates the spirit of self-reliance and entrepreneurship among learners since their very childhood. There are songs which are sung. I think all of us are aware of this Vishwa Bharati, which has been established by Rabindranath Tagore, and the songs which the very kids in their nursery classes, the songs or the poems which they recite, itself glorifies the essence of work in life. So I think this is very important. We, from the very beginning, from our very basic classes, if we have that essence in ourselves to glorify the importance of work in our lives, that will surely ignite the spirit of TVET, or that will surely ignite the spirit of work-based learning, work-centered education in us. So Tagore had two experiments in the form of schools, which is Patha Bhavan and Shikha Chhatra, where there are plethora of vocational courses being made available to students like batik, bandhani, woodwork, metalwork, horticulture, weaving, spinning, etc., which is provided to the students even now through the mainstream education or formal education. These are not extracurricular subjects, but they are very much being imparted through the mainstream education. So this is one of the very striking feature of Vishwabharati or the institute which follows, which is based on the vision of educational philosophy of Tagore. Another experiment that Tagore did was Sri Niketan experiment, which consists of rural reconstruction that aimed for rejuvenation of rural life, and Shilpa Shadana, another department which is very much dedicated towards inculcating the entrepreneurship skills among students. They envisioned to promote vocational education by teaching and training villagers with methods, techniques, procedures for better farming practices. Also, they include new strategies of agriculture and various village crafts and handicrafts so that the tangible as well as intangible cultural heritage of India can be preserved. Also, Sri Niketan have adopted and even it adopts various nearby villages of the area, the Shantiniketan or Bolpur area, so that they can provide these villagers various educational skills, training, in order to make self-reliant village communities. Similarly, Mahatma Gandhi also had a very similar vision as like Tagore. He envisioned for an India of his dreams through Nai Talim. Now, at the All India National Education Conference held in Wardha in 1937, Gandhi proposed the concept of Nai Talim, or basic education or work-centric education, where entire education can be integrated and imparted through some vocation. Gandhi in his article Harijan also mentioned that the highest development of mind and soul is possible under the system of education, where handicraft is taught not merely mechanically, but scientifically, so that the child can be well versed with why and wherefore of every process. So the radical restructuring in the pedagogy through Nai Talim of Mahatma Gandhi had a very cardinal aspect in which it focused on handicraft-centered education through experiential learning. Therefore, Nai Talim was the manifestation of the perception of an ideal society that consisted of industrious, self-reliant, ideal citizens living in self-reliant, cooperative communities. Gandhi conceived Nai Talim not merely as an instrument for revamping the education system, but also to develop a new social order that addresses the dignity of labor as well as encourages the participation of locals, thus making it more inclusive, equitable, accessible, etc., which the SDG 4 also addresses to. Now, to uplift the condition of the people through Nai Talim or Bunyadi Siksha or work-centric education, Gandhi laid the first Bunyadi Vidyalaya in Barharwa, Lakhansen, which is situated in East Champaran district of Bihar, that further led to the inception of 391 such Bunyadi schools in Bihar. But the sheer irony is that not even a single Bunyadi school as per now, as per the present scenario, is in a good condition, is in such condition that can relive, that can live to the expectation of the vision that Gandhi has seen towards making a technical and vocational education, to provide technical and vocational education as of now, if we see in India. So based on my insights, based on the understanding which I collected from the insights of Tagore and Gandhi, I strongly believe that there is a crucial requisite, there is a very important requisite for reimagining TVET based on rejuvenating Nai Talim, reviving the Bunyadi Vidyalayas, inculcating the spirit of TVET through reformed curriculum and pedagogy so that so that various pathways can be identified for choosing the vocation in higher education. TVET should be made available through open and distance learning mode. Employability skills should be inculcated among the learners from the very primary education or from the very formal education which they get in their schools. Dignity of labor should be inculcated. Experiential learning should be given. Participation of local community should be there. Indian arts and artisanship through handicraft-centered education should be promoted. All of this should lead towards entrepreneurship, which can lead towards the development of self-sufficient schools or self-reliant villages. Therefore, leading towards a self-reliant India or Atmanirbhar Bharat. So these are some insights which I got after I read about or learned more about the ideas of Tagore and Gandhi. And we have very learned and esteemed keynote speakers here with amongst us in the national webinar. So I'll take the privilege to invite Professor V.S. MEHROTRA sir for the valuable keynote address. So I hand over the session to MEHROTRA sir. Sir.
Yeah.
Kindly.
So,
Yes.
namaskar and a very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here on this very important day, that is the World Youth Skills Day, that we are celebrating together. And I'm so happy to listen to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Anand Prakashi. In spite of his hectic schedule and he's traveling, he could connect with us. And that is the beauty of, connectivity. And I would appreciate the efforts of Suprabha Deji that she could connect with me. And we are here with you all. I would also like to compliment Professor Ashish Srivastav for this kind of mentoring that you have taken up. Rather than inviting any assistant professor or professor, you are mentoring, the research scholars through this. And this is what we need to do. We need to organize such online programs regularly for such students who would actually develop their, not only the communication skills, but the coordinating skills, the how to coordinate, how to network with people. Because in today's world, it's very important to network with people, and nobody else than Dr. Madhuri Dubey can be complimented for that, because she has been instrumental in connecting with us. She's a good friend of ours. Why I'm saying ours? Because the whole PSSCIve knows her. We have invited her in many of the events that we have organized, and she has been doing a lot of hand-holding in terms of publicizing not only Tvet but also about PSSCIve. So I'm so grateful to all of you, Astik and Dr. Mukesh Kumarji. I can see Subhajit Jana and so many other faculty members who are there, all senior faculty members who have joined this. There are around 94 or 5 faculty members who are there on this forum. So, as you know, today's theme that we are now today talking about is transforming youth skills for the future. And that's very important. When we talk about the future, we get stressed generally. तभी कहा जाता है कि आगे की चिंता मत करो, नहीं तो चिंतित रहोगे. But it's very important to think of the future in terms of skilling people, in terms of generating employment for others, for creating more of platforms where we can prepare entrepreneurs. उद्यमिता विकास पे हमें जोर देना होगा, और इसलिए जरूरी है क्योंकि just by skilling people, it's not going to be the end of it. It's just a beginning. But when we talk of skilling, then we need to also create job opportunities where the person would be getting jobs. Because everyone looks for jobs, and especially the government jobs, which are now very few. Now the challenge is how to make people competent so that when they get into the world of work, as Professor Ashish Srivastav ji rightly mentioned, that we need to prepare them so that they can smoothly transit from the school, college, or university into the world of work. And that is the biggest challenge to Tvet. We have been struggling for, say, 40 years now in terms of bringing a model where we can say this is the model of Tvet, which if you implement, and you can create the best of the skilled workers for the world. As it is usually said, there's no one shirt which fits all. And same applies here to Tvet. We cannot have one particular model which works everywhere, anywhere, or all the time. We have to keep on changing the models as per the requirements of the industry, as per the requirements of the labor market, as per the requirements of the skill demands, as per the requirements of the changing technology. Now, these are the various challenges that we have in Tvet. So what do? We need to create an ecosystem, a skill ecosystem, where we can provide all those resources that are required for skilling. We need to also train our teachers or the vocational teachers or trainers. We need to also help our children to get on-the-job training or apprenticeship training. Now, these are all facts that we have been talking about and all those things. So I'll just make a short presentation and then we'll take some 1 or 2 questions, because I think I have almost 20 minutes time. So I'll be making a 15 minutes presentation, and then I'll just share my slide over there.
Professor, extremely sorry, Professor, if any difficulties from your side.
Now it is resolved. I was facing some problem there.
Okay.
Can you see my slide?
Yes, it is visible now.
It's there? No. Can you see now?
Yes, sir, it is visible now.
Yes, sir. It is visible? Yeah. Okay, so I'll just start my presentation, which is on, as I was given the topic, like reimagining Tvet and transforming youth skills in India. So if we look at the first slide, which talks about the background on it. As Professor Ashish ji has already talked about the Sustainable Development Goals, which are like 17 goals outlined by the United Nations, and most of the countries are now working towards, achieving those targets for each of these goals. Now, target 4.4 talks about this Tvet, and particularly with emphasis on the quality of the technical vocational education and training. So, Sustainable Development Goal 4 aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education for all and facilitate lifelong learning opportunities for all. Now, this is very important. We need to prepare our people for lifelong learning opportunities, and therefore, we just don't have to focus on the skilling of the children, but also the youth as well as the adults, so that we can create opportunities for facilitating lifelong learning opportunities. Now, what has happened in other countries, let's take an example of Australia, where they have technical and further education colleges and institutes where people can come learn skills for short term, get the certification, and then they can go back to the world of work. So learn while you earn and earn while you learn. This kind of concept we have to introduce through a flexible skilling, which could be like through the Tvet, as we are talking about, but also specific programs meant for working women, working people, working youth, working adults. Those kinds of programs also we need to introduce so that we can upskill them or reskill them for the various opportunities. Now, Tvet actually helps youth and adults to develop skills that will enable them to obtain employment, decent work, and promote sustainable economic growth. And India, as we all know, has a 1.32 billion population and is the second largest country in the world in terms of population, which is followed by China. And the first one is China, and this followed by India, and then the US. Now, the challenge is that what we need to do, what China has done, and what US has done. I mean, if we look at these three countries, China has a very strong Tvet system, rather vocational education and training system that they have created through their secondary schools, and also having separate schools where the focus is on vocational education training. US, if we talk about community colleges, are very strong in that sense. India, we have ITIs, we have polytechnics, we have schools. We have now Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Kendras. So earlier, the skill ecosystem was mainly driven by the government. Now we have public-private partnerships. And with the establishment of the NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation, this has taken a very different dimension in terms of involvement of the private stakeholders or the private industry, of private entities in terms of enterprises. And a lot of change has taken place in the ecosystem now. But the challenge is how to sustain that change. So we have to really work together in terms of ensuring that whatever we have created over these years, say after 2012, when this National Vocational Education Qualifications Framework came, and thereafter in 2013, National Skill Qualifications Framework came, with the notification on 27th December 2013, this NSQF was implemented, and it's going very well because now it's a buzzword. Everyone knows about this National Skill Qualifications Framework. Now, NEP, when we talk of National Education Policy 2020, which emphasizes on vocational skills development, we have Samagra Shiksha, which is the centrally sponsored scheme of education, which talks about holistic education. And it is an integrated scheme for school education, wherein it starts from preschool to class 12. And the goal is for improving school effectiveness measured in terms of equal opportunities for schooling and equitable learning outcomes. Now, here it's very important to understand that we need to focus more on learning outcomes rather than learning objectives, which we have been doing for years together. Now, why we need to talk about learning outcomes? Because learning outcomes are the statements which defines what a learner should know, do, and would also follow. Not just knowing and doing, but also follow means the attitude. And as Suprabha was talking about what Mahatma Gandhi had said, so I'll always talk about Mahatma Gandhi's 3H. That is the head, heart, and hand. And that is what he said, that we need to link all these three through the basic education on Nai Talim. Now, another aspect which I would like to mention here is what Acharya Vinoba Bhave talked about. He talked about 3 pillars of education: Yog, Udyog, and Sahyog. Now, these are very important aspects of vocational education training. When we say Yog, that helps in self-development, like yoga, meditation, all those exercises, physical exercise. So we need to promote physical education, sports, yoga, meditations in our school, so that it helps a child's personality development, personal development, health development, social development. All these development will take place through the yoga. Then coming to Udyog. Now, Udyog means industry. So we need to work for the industry. Industry here doesn't mean the factories. It means whatever we do in terms of commercial output. Like we need to produce. And that is what Gandhiji has said, that every citizen of the country should become productive. Add value to the products, or the whatever produce we bring out. Like in agriculture, we do food processing. For charkha, he talked about, so thread weaving and all, textile and all those things. So, weaving your own cloth. So those kind of things that he promoted. So we had earlier socially useful productive work or work experience program. So exposure to vocational skills to be part of the curriculum for children at middle stage. And that is why we need to expose our children to a plethora of choices that are available in the world of work, which we have not been able to do right now. And that is why at PSSCIve we have created an online vocational interest inventory, which actually help a child to understand what are his or her interests, and accordingly make a choice for vocational subject or vocational courses or vocational vocations that they would be taking up later on. Then connecting skill-based activities with general academic subjects like science, language, social science. So here I would like to mention about particularly the bagless days, which has been mentioned in NEP 2020, that we need to create opportunities for the teachers as well as the students to work together. And that is what Sahyog means. Why we need to promote Sahyog in schools? That both the teachers and students, they learn together. Like if, for example, if I'm conducting an activity on vermicompost in the school, and there are science teachers, language teachers, social science teachers all standing around that activity. So what they would be doing, they would be talking about vermicompost, how a worm converts the biodegradable waste into compost. The science teacher would be explaining about all these things, the use of microorganisms and things like that. The language teacher will ask about the vocabulary, ask about writing about the vermicompost. And the social science teacher would say, like Aristotle once said, that earthworms are the friends of farmers. So write an essay or a paragraph on how the earthworms are the friends of farmers. Now, this is the way we need to teach our students at the lower level or the middle stage, where grade 6 to 8. Now, work-based activities to be introduced as an integral part of the teaching learning process rather than as an existing scheme of studies of education from grade 6 to 8. All the schools would introduce vocationalization of education from grade 6 to 8. General education teachers of language, mathematics, science, social science, art, music, and work experience would be involved in the organization of skill-based activities related to the themes that they are teaching. Now, these are the major recommendations of the NEP, which the Samagra Shiksha 2.0 is carrying forward in the school education sector. Now, coming to the specifics of it. Now, let's talk about what has been talked in NEP 2020 about the vocational exposure at middle stage, pre-vocational education. Now, for pre-vocational education, the PSS Central Institute of Vocational Education has already developed guidelines, which we are finalizing and would be launched by the NCERT very soon. Then, what do we mean by pre-vocational education? Pre-vocational education are the activities which actually help a child to understand about the various occupations, about the various vocations that are available in the world of work. So what do? We conduct theme-based activities, we conduct sectoral-based activities. Say, for example, in agriculture, if we take our children to agriculture farm and ask them to do something, some agricultural practice, say, for example, plowing or, sowing seeds and then watering plants or doing micro irrigation, that is drip irrigation and sprinkler irrigation, then they will be able to not just understand the nitty-gritties of each of those occupations, but also would be exposed to the variety of occupations available in agriculture. So that is why we need to promote pre-vocational education at an early age. I talked about vocational interest inventory for students of grade 8 to help students to choose vocational subjects or vocations based on their interest and personality traits. I also talked about bagless days, where students can intern with local experts on enrichment activities involving arts, quizzes, sports, and vocational crafts. Similarly, skill-based activities and experiential learning through academic subjects like science, social science. I talked about one of those examples that we can promote in the schools. Integrated pedagogy, inquiry-based and discovery-based teaching learning methods for training students of 21st century and future industry skills such as coding, artificial intelligence, computational thinking, data science, robotics, etc. Then all of that above, we need to also promote Lok Vidya, which is the Indian knowledge system, including tribal knowledge, to be identified and imparted to the students using local resources and local craftspersons or experts for teaching and training students. Now, what we need to do at the secondary stage. So I've just taken two major stages, keeping in mind the time constraint. So middle stage, we need to promote from these activities through bagless days, internship programs, fun-based activities, pre-vocational education. Then at the secondary stage, we need to provide greater choice of vocational subjects or courses to the students. We need to also bring about flexibility in curriculum. We need to also provide career guidance and counseling so that students can make a proper choice of the vocational courses that they would like to take up in higher education. Say, for example, BVOC programs, BVOC, MVOC. And they can even go for PhD under the National Skills Qualifications Framework. Now, we also have the National Higher Education Qualification Framework, which was developed by UGC, and incidentally, I was also one of the members of the committee which drafted this document on National Higher Education Qualifications Framework. Vertical mobility of vocational students. So we need to create more avenues for vertical mobility, like introduction of BVOC and MVOC programs in colleges and universities. Many of the states or universities, I would say particularly, haven't started any BVOC programs. So my request would be every university should start BVOC and MVOC programs so that the students coming out from schools can get opportunities for higher education, and they just don't go for degrees which are not going to fetch them any employment, or they cannot even do some social entrepreneurship. So we can also think of programs in social entrepreneurship, which is coming up in a big way. So what are the challenges to Tvet? So responding to the demands of the market and needs of industry, providing opportunities for diversified and advanced programs and courses, creating opportunities for industrial training or apprenticeship training, elevating social status of Tvet, arranging resources to meet the diversified needs of the learners, and above all, improving the quality of Tvet. And that's very important and challenging also. Given the resource constraints, we need to find out how we can minimize the cost or the investment in Tvet and utilize the local resources to provide skills to our children. And that is the biggest challenge that we have. Now, given the constraints, we need to also promote the excellence in Tvet. So what do we need to do? We need to adopt learner-centered approach, support for teachers, trainers, and assessors in terms of not only training, but also incentivizing their efforts. So we need to reward and award teachers or trainers and assessors who are doing very well, so that they become the role models for others to emulate. Now, focus on upskilling, reskilling, and lifelong learning. We need to really focus on upskilling and reskilling, because there are people, like for example, in COVID-19 pandemic, many of them have lost their jobs, and they can't even get back to the occupation that they are into or they were into. So we need to reskill them or upskill them so that they can go back to the world of work and get suitable jobs. Ensure inclusive access to Tvet, that is girls, women, and other disadvantaged learners. Support local communities to generate livelihood by capitalizing on India's cultural, art, and craft heritage. Community service needs to be incorporated in all our skill development programs. Massive digitalization of the programs. We need to, just like we are online, we can think of internship programs online. Expanding evidence-based research for better policy planning and monitoring. Deploying innovative financing models for scaling up Tvet programs. Stronger partnerships and collaborations between Tvet stakeholders. Align with the National Policy on Skill Development and Entrepreneurship 2015, NEP 2020, 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Now, coming to the fostering industry experience. Now, this is one of the very important aspects in today's, when we talk about especially the future skills. We need to look at the Industry 4.0 and provide opportunities to our teachers and trainers, particularly for updating their skills or upgrading their skills. Now, updating teaching standards and teacher qualifications to the new needs of the labor market, incorporating work-based learning opportunities in Tvet teacher training programs, developing closer ties between the providers of initial teacher training and the world of work, promoting flexible and alternative ways of recruiting and qualifying teachers in Tvet, involving industry professionals in teaching in various ways, especially through mentorship programs, raising the attractiveness of Tvet, introducing entitlements for Tvet teachers to participate in training, incorporating awards and rewards, as I mentioned earlier also, for teachers availing industry-based work opportunities, developing closer ties between Tvet institutions and the world of work to facilitate knowledge exchange between teachers and employees. Now, there are several initiatives which have been taken by the government for skill development. I hope you must have read about all these. I'm not going to get into the details of it. So I'll just mention about the titles of it, which is like vocational education under Samagr Shiksha. I talked about it. Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, PMKVY 3.0. It started with 1.0, then 2.0, and now it is 3.0, which is the flagship scheme of the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushal Yojana, Craftsman Training Scheme. Then vocational training program for women. Then Pradhan Mantri Yuva Yojana, skill loan scheme. This is very important here to mention that there's a skill loan scheme. Many people don't know about this, and we need to spread the news about this so that more and more beneficiaries can take this benefit of this particular scheme. National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, NAPS. As you are aware that Apprenticeship Act 1961 was amended in 2014 also, and these vocational courses have also been included as optional trades. So a student with the age of 14 plus and has done the vocational course, after that can get into apprenticeship training now. Earlier it was like 18 years, so that age has been reduced, and students after doing this optional course can get into this apprenticeship training. Atmanirbhar skilled employee employer mapping, ASEEM, then recognition of prior learning, loan scheme for persons with disabilities, Divyangs. So there's a National Handicap Finance and Development Corporation under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, which extend the loan to the persons with disabilities. So you can see it is very inclusive. Now, skill ecosystem has become inclusive in that sense that all these target groups have been covered by the Government of India. And we need to spread this message to all the people there in the country so that they can take benefits of all these schemes which are there. Now, coming to the future of skills, emerging trends in skill development, which is part of this theme today and also the title which I was given. We need to not just develop those skills, soft skills and hard skills, which we have been doing, but we need to also focus on safety skills. Because what is the difference that we need to create between the unorganized sector and the organized sector, or the informal sector and the formal sector? If you look at the informal sector or the unorganized sector, what happens is that we take care of the safety aspects. Whereas in the organized sector, there's a lot of safety aspect which is being taken care of. Collaboration, human to machine, and networking skills. Problem identification and solving. So problem solving skills we need to develop. Environmental intelligence, sustainability skills, continuous learning, multidisciplinary transfer, creativity, adaptability, resilience skills, for example. Then design, programming, cyber physical systems, knowledge transfer, quality assurance, and quality control. Now, looking at these skills, what we need to also promote is the ability to work with data, because now data analytics, data science, visualization, statistical knowledge is becoming all the more important with the use of ICT. So knowledge of ICT, IT security. Now, cyber security is one domain where there are a lot of job prospects. So we need to train our children on cyber security, or the youth. We need to train our youth on cyber security, data protection, data analytics, and business intelligence. Now, when coming to the personal skills, developing mindset for continuous learning. So learning to learn. This is the skill that we need to develop in every learner. Human to machine interaction, as I mentioned earlier also. Specific knowledge of manufacturing setups. Then R&D and innovation, technology integration in processes. So digital leadership we need to provide. Now, when we talk of the emerging trends in skills development, what are those things that we need to take care of when we are developing future skill programs, skill development programs? Customized training, just like we customize the cars, when it comes to the workshop, we customize them. We do makeup and beauty and wellness. The customized makeups and manicure, pedicure, and all these things are being done. Nail art, for example, is becoming so customized now. So similarly, we need to develop the skills for customized training, adaptive learning and content delivery, micro learning. So small modules, rather than giving a whole chunk of modules which a person cannot digest, we need to come out with micro modules for micro learning, AR, VR scale learning, then data analytics, then emergence of gig economy, which we all know that has happened. And when we need to prepare our people for contractual work or freelance work so that they can be part of the gig workforce and help others also to get into the various jobs. So this is a short presentation, I thought, and I wanted to finish it by time. So I hope I am by time. Thank you very much for this opportunity once again. And I look forward to many more interaction of this type in future, particularly with your PhD scholars. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the insightful and informative address. I am very sure that we all have learned so much from this. Now I would ask Professor Dr. Patla Tomkar sir to please come up with if the participants have asked for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Suprabha. Thank you. Can we take questions now, or can we take at the end?
I think it is better if you can take at the end.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, sir. So we'll be taking the questions at the end. Participants can post your questions in the chat box, both in the Google Meet as well as in the YouTube channel. Now I would like to invite Dr. Madhuri Dubey, ma'am, founder, National Skills Network. I hand over the session to you, ma'am. Dr. Madhuri Dubey.
Yeah, thank you, Suprabha. Thank you for connecting me with a wonderful community of leaders in the education field. So, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ashish Srivastava, and all the leadership team members of the university, and Professor MEHROTRA, nice to meet you again. And Suprabha, for being such a wonderful networking person, I would say, for connecting all of us. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. This morning, I was asking Suprabha, should I make a PPT slide or can I just speak? She said, I leave it to you. I said, okay. Anyways, I was not keen on making few slides and then making it very formal. So please allow me to be a bit informal. I would like to begin with a little bit of my story. मैं क्यों कहना चाह रही हूँ कि मैं इसीलिए कहना चाह रही हूँ कि मेरा जो करियर बना है पिछले 26 सालों में, ये कुछ अलग सा करियर है. तो इसमें क्या हुआ कि जब मैं छोटी थी तो मुझे लगा कि मुझे टाइपराइटिंग सीखना चाहिए, क्योंकि तब उस जमाने में सब लोग टाइपराइटिंग सीखते थे. उसके वजह से कुछ ना कुछ नौकरी मिल जाती थी. तो एंड there was a need in my family. Being the eldest and a lot of gap between me and my parents, तो मुझे जल्दी से कुछ ना कुछ नौकरी ढूंढना पड़ता था जब when my father was about to retire. So I learned typewriting, and I did my graduation, everything. But my luck was very different. I got UGC JRF fellowship और मुझे PhD करने का मौका मिला. So I did my PhD in education, in policy, through ethnographic research and things like that. So anyways, तो PhD सब कुछ हो गया, लेकिन तब क्या हो रहा था कि मुझे टीचिंग में उतना इंटरेस्ट नहीं था, क्योंकि जो भी मैं करना चाह रही थी इसके लिए मुझे कुछ फ्रीडम नहीं मिलता था कॉलेज में. और जो मेरा PhD का रिसर्च था, it was about autonomy in colleges. I could not do anything about it being a lecturer. Okay. Then I realized that when you are on a job, और जो आपको करना चाहिए, जो आप करना चाहते हो पॉलिसी लेवल में, वो पॉसिबल नहीं है एक लेक्चरर या एक जूनियर लेक्चरर की तरह. ये मैं 25 साल पहले की बात कर रही हूँ. तो उसके साथ साथ मुझे ये रियलाइज हुआ कि मुझ में कुछ स्किल्स है, जो कौशल है, जो टैलेंट है, वो शायद that is something which is more powerful in me than this teaching profession. So I left teaching and I took up a role in e-learning design and development. Tabhi internet, Google, everything was coming up in late 90s. So I switched over to a corporate career after a brief teaching experience. And I worked in the corporate sector for about 18 years, mostly doing content related work and e-learning. And I'm also an author. I have written a book on e-learning, which is India's first book on e-learning of the kind it is. So ये सब मैं कर रही थी जॉब में. I was happy, but फिर भी मुझे लग रहा था कि my PhD was kind of there at the back of my mind. Why am I talking about my PhD? That's because there is Suprabha, there are professors, and there are a lot of research scholars here. So you see, when you do a PhD, there is a passion with which you do it, right? और जब आप वो उसको implement नहीं कर पा रहे हो, जब आपका वो कुछ use नहीं हो रहा है, तो वो पीछे रहता है, जैसे it haunts you, it haunts you basically. So I was always haunted कि I got UGC JRF for 5 years, JRF, SRF, and I was I was one of the good students. सब कुछ हो गया, लेकिन PhD का use नहीं हो रहा है. तो this was there. So one day I decided that I will start. I was also a blogger. जैसे हम लोग तब blog बहुत लिखते थे 5 से 6 7 10 साल पहले. जिसको भी लिखने में शौक था, सबका एक ब्लॉग होता था. तो मेरा भी एक था. तो उसके बाद मैंने एक प्रोफेशनल ब्लॉग शुरू किया जिसका नाम था नेशनल स्किल्स नेटवर्क. तो वो ब्लॉग धीरे धीरे पॉपुलर होने लगा. तो मैं जो सब्जेक्ट्स पे लिख रही थी वो थे एजुकेशन, एम्प्लॉयमेंट, एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी, ये सब सब्जेक्ट्स पे मैं लिख रही थी. सो व्हेन माय ब्लॉग बिकेम पॉपुलर एंड पीपल स्टार्टेड माय राइटिंग, I decided to take a chance. I quit my job, a very well-paying job, and I did not have a business plan, but I said, let me do something. So that is how I started National Skills Network, NSN, 7 years ago. And today it is India's only unique digital platform to support advocacy, to promote skill development, vocational training, एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी एंड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप. तो ये सब चीज़ों का उसमें एक मिश्रण हो गया. एंड वी आर वेरी हैप्पी दैट ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम नेशनल द न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी NEP 2020, ये सब में जो भी बातें हो रही है वो शायद हम लोग भी उसी तरह से उसी ट्रैक पे हम कुछ कंटेंट डेवलप कर रहे थे हमारे वेबसाइट पे. तो I thought today in the audience there are research scholars, there are professors, and this is education department which is very close to my heart. So I thought I'll share few things, few observations, and I'll not use slides as such, but I'll take you through few pages starting with our website. I'll quickly show you few things, and then we will move ahead. So my presentation is slightly different. So before I get started, I would like to just add on. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, before I get started with this, I would just like to connect with what Professor MEHROTRA and the Honorable Vice Chancellor and Professor Ashish and Suprabha and all of you have said about Mahatma Gandhi, about vocational education, Nayi Taaleem, craft-centric education, and I would also like to add to that one more point. This is also a rare opportunity for me to connect with a place like Champaran, Motihari, which is also the birthplace of George Orwell. George Orwell is one of the authors who has influenced many people all over the world. So I'm very privileged to connect with you all today. Besides, of course, the history of Champaran, everybody knows, right? So yeah, let me quickly take you through this. So this is the website, which is our platform. And till today, we have interviewed about 700 or 800 people from the skilling and vocational ecosystem. And we also have a YouTube channel. In fact, हमारा भी एक webinar हुआ. अभी वो 1 घंटा पहले we just completed our webinar. So we have a lot of videos here you can watch. We have featured a lot of people from the skilling ecosystem, vocational training ecosystem. And we are based out of Hyderabad. We are a small team, but then we are all very passionate about what we do. And we have this e-magazine which is sent out every fortnight. It is called Skill Times from NSN. तो आप ये भी देख सकते हो अगर आपको कुछ information चाहिए, anything to do with vocational or skilling. Okay, so this is about NSN. I'll not go into the details because it's all there on the website. But now comes the important thing. So when we talk about skill development, जैसे हम बात कर रहे हैं reimagining TVET, technical vocational and technical vocational education and training. And all of you have given the background, so I will not repeat. I'll just add to what Professor MEHROTRA was saying and also what Suprabha was saying earlier. Many things are changing. अभी ये सब कुछ एक बदलाव का ज़माना बन गया एजुकेशन में, जहाँ पे हम बात कर रहे हैं न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी की, जिसमें there's a lot of emphasis on work integrated education and training, which is again talking about Gandhian philosophy, Nayi Taaleem, head, hand, and hand, heart, and head, and all these things which we are talking about. If you look at, for example, those of you who have done research, Kothari Commission report or the previous education policy, if you go back and read Kothari Commission report, ये सब उसमें भी था, ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं था. But what happened during the last 50-60 years is that nothing got implemented as such. Okay, the issue is about implementation. पॉलिसी में बात करना ठीक है, पॉलिसी में लिखना, सब कुछ बताना ठीक है, आसान भी है, लेकिन जब वो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की बात आती है, that is where the test lies, and that is where your role becomes very important as research scholars, as people who belong to education department. Now, why I'm saying that is, on the one hand, we are talking about 21st century skills for everyone, besides technical skills. Technical skills are like, okay, somebody is good at fashion design, somebody is good at automotive manufacturing, somebody is good at hairstyling, somebody is good at cooking, wants to be a chef. ये सब technical skills है. लेकिन इसके साथ साथ 21st century skills, like from the World Economic Forum, which this is one of the standard listing of 21st century skills. This is important for everyone, whether you are a professor, whether you are a student, whether you are a researcher, or whoever you are. You know, these skills are very, very important, and I'm sure all of you have seen it and you know about it. Okay, so let's keep this in mind. We'll come back to this a little later. Then now you look at this. CBSE is talking about skill development. This is a revolutionary thing. Like Professor Mehrotra was just talking about a school level vocational education. Since you are from education department, you will have a big role to play in how all these are going to be implemented, let's say in the state of Bihar. Okay, now you look at this from class 6 to 8. These are the skills which CBSE is recommending, okay, to travel and tourism, beauty and wellness. So you see this, all these are new things that are coming up in the education system. Now you look at class 9 and 10, these are the skills which are being recommended by CBSE. It's not just the type of skills or the typical skills की बात जब हम करते हैं तो सबको लगता है कि स्किल्स का मतलब है प्लम्बर, कारपेंटर, मेसन, ब्यूटिशियन वगैरह वगैरह. नो, इट्स नॉट जस्ट दैट. टुडे व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट स्किल्स, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट टेक्नोलॉजी, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट IoT, big data, cyber security, drone technology. You're talking about things which are absolutely very different. तो और एक और चीज हो रही है कि जैसे after COVID we know everything that we do is kind of now technology enabled. We have seen that with COVID, lot of technology adoption can happen. So jobs are changing, things are changing. So when we talk about skilling, it cannot be limited to some carpenter, plumber, mason, construction workers. No, you have to go beyond and look at that. So that's what CBSE is doing here. Now, keeping these two things in mind, I would like you to visit, I'd like to take you through your own, district. Last night I was browsing this and I wanted to learn more about Champaran and, see what exactly is happening in the state. Like, what are the things? So I found this to be very interesting. Now, we just spoke about skills for students. We spoke about how Bihar, has a lot of population which migrates to other states for jobs, for employment, whether it is a very entry-level job, which is done through, let's say, for example, बिहार में हम जब कौशल विकास की बात करते हैं तो one of the programs which comes strongly in my mind is government funded programs like PMKVY, DDU-GKY. तो इन सब में क्या हो रहा है, ट्रेनिंग आफ्टर ट्रेनिंग the youth get placed, because today is World Youth Skills Day. We need to discuss few of these things as well. So they get placed in cities mostly. तो बिहार के कोई रिमोट डिस्ट्रिक्ट से, जैसे नेपाल के बॉर्डर में है या कहीं बहुत इंटीरियर में है, उन सबको ट्रेनिंग दिया जाता है और वो आते हैं शहर में, और शहर में उनको कोई भी बात आसान नहीं है. दिस इज फ्रॉम माय ओन एक्सपीरियंस, आई कैन टेल यू. They find it very difficult to take up these jobs, and after a while they want to go back to their native place, which is a different, could be a village in Bihar or a district in Bihar. Now, I feel with skill development, the responsibility on all the research scholars, particularly from the education department, is to see to it that you work towards curtailing this migration, which is distressed migration. Try to develop the skills which are locally available. I found this page called Messy Button Industry. First of all, I have seen these buttons. ये जो shell buttons है, जो कुर्ता वगैरह में लगाया जाता है. I didn't know that these buttons are originally from Champaran. Okay, so you see, you look at your own district and state, you will find lot of things which might be opportunity to not only revive the craft, जैसे गांधी जी ने बताया था, craft centric education, but also revive the local industry. who knows, इसमें आप इसको अगर गहराई में जाओगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि इसमें अगर आप ट्रेनिंग दोगे तो आपको you will be doing 2 or 3 very wonderful things. One is probably creating new kind of jobs through a particular, I'm just giving you as an example because this is something randomly which I picked up. But if I look at all these things here, you know, I'll find many more opportunities where, you know, probably you can create some, you know, skilling programs and creating jobs in your own district. And also I was looking at the industry here. For example, you have tourism is one of the industries all over the place. Okay, and then there are these potential industries. There is fishery, you know, there's of course agriculture, animal husbandry, health is a big industry. So अगर हम NEP इम्प्लीमेंट करने की बात कर रहे हैं, जैसे नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी, वोकेशनल एजुकेशन एंड ट्रेनिंग को अगर सच में इम्प्लीमेंट करना चाह रहे हैं थ्रू द एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट, आई थिंक फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी हैव टू सी व्हाट इज लोकली अवेलेबल, because NEP is talking strongly about local industry. That is one point. And the second point is that we need to make it very inclusive and give opportunities to young people so that they find value in going through some courses which will help them get employment. Now, I'll just give you an example. What is better for young people, let's say in a place like Bihar? Is it good to get a job in Champaran and earn maybe 10,000, or go to a city like Delhi or Hyderabad and earn 15,000? I feel the first option is always better. That's because you need to build Bihar, right? You need to build your state. You need to build it in many ways so that you stop lot of distressed migration, and also build the industry so that you are self-sustainable. See, anyways, youth will migrate. They will migrate, but some of them will come back because not everybody will be happy in living in metro cities. There is a lot of depression. There is a lot of anxiety. They will, of course, come for a salary which is giving 15,000, but coming back to Champaran and earning 8 to 10,000, I'm sure will give them much more comfort. So now when I give you this example, it is definitely not easy to do. That's because it all involves mindset. ओके एक मानसिकता है जिससे हमको लगता है कि ये जो भी काम हाथों से हो रहा है वो इन्फीरियर है, और हम जब शहर में जाके कुछ काम करते हैं, जैसे एवरीबडी वांट्स टू यू नो वर्क इन अ सॉफ्टवेयर कंपनी, जैसे इफ यू लुक एट यूथ एस्पिरेशंस, everybody wants to go and do a software job, or they want to do a job which is not very manual. Okay, so ये सब, all these are mindset issues. So you will have to work towards how do we resolve these issues when we are, you know, talking about skill development, when we are talking about improving our own district, improving our own state, and trying to, you know, make it sustainable. Otherwise, what happens is you are not looking at grassroots problems. The grassroots problems can be resolved only by the education department of the university, because you know your state very well. Being a central university located in a prime place, I'm sure you have more access to resources. You have better access to people from different you know, like different stakeholders, I would say, like industry, academia, you know, people from the government. So I feel that on World Youth Skills Day, we should be looking at a very balanced and inclusive development model through vocational education and training, which will give an opportunity to overcome regional imbalances, geographical imbalances. Like for instance, you look at Assam, you look at Northeast. The development in Northeast is very different from the development, let us say, in Tamil Nadu or Kerala. Because if you look at Assam, whatever you want to do, there is a very serious flood situation. तो इसके वजह से इंडस्ट्री का एक प्रॉब्लम होता है, राइट? नाउ यू लुक एट बिहार, हाउ मच ऑफ इंडस्ट्री पेनिट्रेशन इज देयर? बिकॉज when we are talking about vocational education and training, I think the first and most important player for us is the industry connect, because vocational is all about industry integrated education and training. When we talk about national skills qualification framework, or when we are talking about anything like curriculum design, like I showed you, अभी मैंने आपको बताया CBSE का जो pages है, उसमें हर एक कोर्स के लिए आपको इंडस्ट्री की सहायता की जरूरत है. Industry has to involve. Now, if you look at doing it locally, then you need a lot of industry support. Like I was doing an interview with an ITI principal from a place in Bihar. Saharsa is the place. तो वो मुझे बता रहे थे कि मैडम आप तो बहुत इंडस्ट्री के बारे में बात करते हो और इंडस्ट्री इंटीग्रेटेड एजुकेशन, बट अब जब आप हमारा बिहार का ये रीजन देखोगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि यहाँ कोई इंडस्ट्री पेनिट्रेशन नहीं है. तो आप जब वोकेशनल की बात कर रहे हो तो आपको you have to take the students out of Bihar, put them in some place where there is industry. So you will have to bring industry to your place. Now, when we talk about industry, it doesn't mean big factories or big companies. It can be small scale industry. It can be very micro kind of industry. I think this is what Gandhian philosophy is all about. He's definitely talking about promoting local crafts, local industry. That's why I looked at the example of your official website, where you have some local crafts, where you have many interesting things which are done locally. Now you need to connect all these together, then come up with a plan for skill development and vocational training, which is a bit localized, but it doesn't mean that you're not showing opportunities outside Bihar. But I would still feel that we need to focus on our own local regions, and then look at how you can expand the thing. Now the last part of my presentation would be a generic part where I would just like to share few trends about what is happening in the skills and employment space. जैसे अभी आपने labor market के बारे में mention किया था, and also you mentioned about gig economy. Today, if you look at it, I think the job scenario is changing in a big way. As we all know, highly qualified people are applying for government jobs where you need just 10th class certificate. Even PhDs are applying for such jobs. So there is a big disconnect. Something is wrong with our system, we know that. There is a lot of underemployment. Like you see drivers, you see people who are delivery boys वगैरह. ये सब जो gig jobs है, उसमें आपको पता चलेगा कि काफी लोग engineers हैं, post graduates हैं, उनको कुछ मिल नहीं रहा है, इसीलिए वो लोग सब अभी they are trying out things. So we need to make certain corrections as we go ahead. और ये सब चीजें 1 या 2 या 3 साल में होने वाली नहीं है. NEP 2020 is just a catalyst. It's just giving us a direction. वो अपने ऊपर होता है, अपने ऊपर निर्भर है कि हम उसको कैसे implement करते हैं NEP को. और NEP implementation is connected with reimagining vocational education and training, because if you look at the policy, it is giving you a lot of insights at various levels, school level, college level. जैसे अभी प्रोफेसर मेहरोत्रा ने बात किया था BVOC के बारे में. BVOC is one degree which is really becoming popular today, and we see quite a few colleges and universities implementing BVOC with industry partnership. तो ये जो industry और academia का जो interaction होना चाहिए, इसके लिए काफी मेहनत करना पड़ेगा सबको. It's not very easy. So I'm giving you the real picture because I have been working in this day and night, and have, as I said, I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of people in this space. So we need to look at various new ways of doing things. And for the youth, my message would be, please come out of your comfort zone. Life is not comfortable at all for anyone. We all have to struggle. शायद अपने पेरेंट्स you look at your parents and grandparents and all, उनको शायद कोई गवर्नमेंट नौकरी मिली होगी. We had steady income at home, but आपके ज़माने में ऐसा नहीं है. You have to be really on your toes and have a growth mindset, and try to do things which you feel are good for you, where you have your passion, where you have your interest, and where you see your purpose. I think when passion, interest, purpose, all these come together, you will really be happy about what you're doing. And also look at the development of your own state and your own district. I think that gives us more pleasure than looking at jobs which are far, far away and which are temporary solutions, but we should look at sustainable solutions. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity to speak today. Thank you. I hope I conveyed something important to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing such an empowering story of your PhD and how the story about NSN also, and also inspiring us to know more about our district, our state, as well as to do the grassroots level researches so that we can contribute even more towards technical vocational education and training. I thank both the speakers, and now I hand over the session to Dr. Patwa Tomkar sir for the questions and feedbacks from the students. Over to you, sir.
ओके, थैंक यू सुप्रभा। सभी प्रतिभागियों से अनुरोध है, अगर किसी का कोई जिज्ञासा है, क्वेश्चंस है तो सुप्रभा, वी हैव रिसीव्ड 2 क्वेश्चंस ऑन द लाइव स्ट्रीम। ये वन इज फ्रॉम ज्योति पुंदीर, हाउ ए टीचर एस्पायर देयर चिल्ड्रन फॉर इंकलकेटिंग skills and experiential learning, and one more is from सचिन चौधरी, NEP 2020 में लोक विद्या की बात की है, हम इसे किसके साथ जोड़ सकते हैं वोकेशनल एजुकेशन के लिए, बोल के 2 क्वेश्चंस है। एक फॉर whom these questions are asking, can you come out, जो भी ज्योति पुंदीर और सचिन चौधरी, आपके क्वेश्चंस डायरेक्टली पूछ सकते हो अनम्यूट करके, मैडम से, माधुरी दुबे मैडम से, नहीं तो प्रोफेसर विनय स्वरूप सर से। सभी प्रतिभागियों से अनुरोध है, जो भी किसी का भी जो भी क्वेश्चन है आप डायरेक्टली भी पूछ सकते हो। वन मोर क्वेश्चन इज देयर।
It can also be like you can ask the question one by one, and any of our respected speakers can take up the question.
Okay, we can do that. We can do. Yeah.
Sir, I'm very sorry for you to intervene here.
Yes, Sunil Kumar, you can go ahead.
Sir, actually, very good afternoon to all of you. Sir, my name is Sunil Kumar. I am from Research Scholar of Department of Management Sciences in Mahatma Gandhi Central University. I am passionately listening both the 2 dignitaries who are explaining their entitlements on this particular subject of disciplines. The knowledge that is imparted by the madam is very insightful, broad coverage and very enlightened. I would like to ask one question to madam, to you, that as you already mentioned about you have created their own blog. I know about what are the steps that are concerned from creation of own blog, and what are the steps that you are continuing with that blogs. Please explain that the steps or how to manage that blogs. Thank you.
I didn't understand properly. Suprabha, can you just rephrase it?
Ma'am, he was asking about the blogs which you mentioned, madam, how you are making those blogs even today, how those blogs are active, and how we can aspire the children with those blogs.
Okay, fine. Sunil, thank you for your question. Yeah, one of my blogs, see, I had used the blogger, which is there with Google, but आजकल कोई blogging नहीं कर रहा है, ये बहुत outdated हो गया है। आजकल सब लोग vlogging करते हैं। Blogging का मतलब है video blog। तो अगर आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे हो, if you want to say something to the world, I would suggest you start your YouTube channel. Okay, and of course you can have a blog. Blogger is still there. You can go and enroll, and you can, register and start your blog. So blogging में क्या होता है? Like, see, you start writing like a diary or some articles or anything interesting, which you can keep writing. So that my personal blog is still there, and there is also my professional blog is what is NSN now. I developed it into a community platform. So 7 years ago, it was like my blog. जैसे I was telling you, I used to write regularly because I'm very fond of writing and I'm also an author. But आज के ज़माने में blogging outdated हो गया है. आजकल चल रहा है blogging, reels. ये सब चीज़ों में अगर आप if you are interested in doing all these things, you have a very bright future. By the way, I would just like to share a couple of points on this. I feel all the researchers, all the students should go ahead and make portfolios of what they are interested in. ये आपको एक पोर्टफोलियो की तरह बना के कहीं पे रखना चाहिए जिससे सबको पता चलेगा, because today the world is about self marketing. आप अपने बारे में जितना बता सकोगे इंडस्ट्री को या यहीं भी जहाँ कहीं भी आपको आपके बारे में कुछ बताना चाहिए, तो ये सब चीज़ों के लिए आजकल काफ़ी आसान है। यूट्यूब है या ब्लॉगर या वर्डप्रेस में ब्लॉग क्रिएट कर सकते हो आप। वर्डप्रेस इज ऑल्सो अनदर प्लेटफॉर्म। आप रेगुलरली लिख सकते हो, इससे आपका एक पोर्टफोलियो बन जाएगा। ये पोर्टफोलियो की वजह से आप अपने आप को यू कैन ब्रॉडकास्ट योर सेल्फ, you can start networking with people, you can do a whole lot of things. Yeah, so start looking at vlogging plus blogging both.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we have 2 questions from YouTube live stream.
Yeah.
Can I ask, ma'am? Can I place to both?
Yeah,
we have 2 questions. One question is, ma'am, in relation to she's asked by Jyoti Pundir, how a teacher aspire their children for inculcating skills and experiential learning?
Good question. I think Professor MEHROTRA also can add to what I'm saying. First of all, vocational training, vocational teacher education in India is not given importance at all at this point in time. Except for the great work which is happening in institutions like PSSCIve, Bhopal, where they are really putting their heart and soul and trying to educate teachers in the vocational stream, not much is happening. तो एक बात है कि vocational teacher या trainer, that the teacher and trainer himself or herself should take lot of pride in what he or she is doing, because it is still not aspirational to be a vocational trainer. So first is that. Second one is, okay, you are doing this vocational training or teaching through passion, you really like it, you're very happy, that's great. Now this has to be conveyed to the student. So I think 1 or 2 ways of doing it is, of course, the teacher has to get some kind of industry exposure and experience, which is absolutely important, because when you're talking about vocational teacher or trainer, it is not by studying the books. You have to go to the industry, you have to dirty your hands, you have to learn whether whichever subject it is, whether it is beauty, handicrafts, or whatever it is, you have to have that exposure. And then you need to inspire the students and make them feel that what they're doing is really valuable, really good. Because एक इसमें एक और इश्यू है कि अगर किसी को वोकेशनल सब्जेक्ट्स में इंटरेस्ट है तो उनको फैमिली में सपोर्ट मिलना बहुत मुश्किल की बात है. Because every family, let's say for example, if a child says, I'm very interested in becoming a beautician, do you think the parents will support her in the first go? I don't think, because the parents will still look at it as not something which a child should do as the first option. इसीलिए आजकल vocational, not only today, because I feel vocational education also has another issue, which is a social issue, where it is marketed only for dropouts. It is marketed only for people who are coming from vulnerable backgrounds. It's ITIs के courses है. ITIs के courses का अगर आप ad देखते हो तो आपको लगता है हाँ आप school dropout है तो आ जाइए ITI में. तो you see there is an image which we need to build. There is a branding which we have to do. This has an impact on the teacher or trainer, and that gets translated to the student also. So if Professor MEHROTRA can add to this, it will be nice.
Sure, Dr. Madhuri, thank you. So I would say when we talk of experiential learning, you have to really make it activity-based. And that is what I was mentioning earlier, that if you are conducting a vermicompost activity, you need to have different teachers around there so that they explain the concept, the working principles, the various other aspects related to social science, language. We have always taken teaching in isolation. Teachers have worked in silos rather than making it interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary. And that is what has been focused in the national education policy, that we need to make it interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, make it more flexible. The second aspect, which is very important in all kinds of teaching, is the learning outcome. And we have to make it joyful. Now, how we need to do, I'll give you one example. 2 दोस्त खड़े हुए थे पेंडेमिक के बाद. एक दोस्त ने दूसरे दोस्त के पूछा, अरे ये तुम्हारा टॉमी कैसा है, क्या कर रहा है? उसने कहा कि बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत हम लोग ने एंजॉय किया एक दूसरे के साथ बैठ के। देयर वाज अ डॉग देयर, टॉमी। तो क्या किया तुमने? हमने कहा कि इसको सीटी बजाना सिखा दिया मैंने। कोविड पेंडेमिक में घर में इसको सीटी बजाना सिखा। तो ही वाज सरप्राइज, ही सेड अरे सीटी बजाना और कुत्ते को, ये तो कमाल कर दिया। हमने तोते का तो सुना था, ये कुत्ते को कैसे सीटी बजाना? तो उसने कहा कि बदना सिखा दिया, बस ये मेरी खूबी है, मैं बहुत अच्छा टीचर बन गया। मैंने कहा ठीक है। उसने टॉमी से कहा, टॉमी सीटी बजाओ। अब टॉमी कहाँ सीटी बजाए, कुत्ता तो सीटी बजा नहीं सकता। तो उसने कहा ये तो टॉमी तो सीटी बजा नहीं रहा, यू सेड कि ये सीटी बजा सकता है। मैंने कहा तुमने मेरी बात को ध्यान से नहीं सुना। मैंने कहा मैंने इसको सीटी बजाना सिखा दिया, मैंने कब कहा इसने सीख लिया? दिस इज द डिफरेंस वी नीड टू क्रिएट इन टीचिंग। हम हमेशा कहते हैं हमने सिलेबस कवर कर लिया, हमने एग्जाम ले लिया, हमने मार्क्स दे दिए, बच्चा पास हो गया, फेल हो गया, मार्क्स मिल गए, सर्टिफिकेट मिल गया, मार्कशीट देखो, इसका इंटरव्यू लो, इसको जॉब दे दो। दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव। दीज आर ऑल इनपुट बेस्ड। वेयर इज द आउटपुट? अगर टीचर आउटपुट की तरफ देखने लगेगा कि मैंने इसको आज ये पढ़ाया, क्या इसने सीखा, क्या इसकी लर्निंग हुई, and that is what we have to bring, that kind of paradigm shift in terms of teaching to facilitating learning. And if we bring about this kind of change, then we'll create lifelong learners rather than students who are seeking your help or the Google help now, basically for knowledge. Skills आप online नहीं दे सकते, only cognitive skills आप दे सकते. But when it comes to psychomotor skills, it is all about taking them to the field, to the industry, to the on the job. Then only they will learn. इसकी एक और स्टोरी है। एक ज्ञानी जी थे, नाव पे जा रहे थे, तो मल्ला से 2-3 सवाल पूछे जो उसका जवाब नहीं दे पाया। मैं I just want to cut it short because I'll be taking long time to tell the whole story. तो ज्ञानी जी बार बार बोले 25% तुम्हारी जिंदगी खराब हो गई, फिर बोला 75% जिंदगी खराब हो गई। जब 75% की बात आई तो एकदम से सुनामी जैसी लहरें उठने लगी, नाव में हिचकोले आने लगे। अब मल्ला ने पूछा ज्ञानी जी से, ज्ञानी जी ये बतावा हो हमका कि आपने बहुत हमारी खोपड़ी खा ली, अब हमका ये बतावा हो कि आपको तैरना आता है कि नहीं। उनका नहीं, ये क्यों पूछ रहे हो कि आपकी 100% जिंदगी अब बर्बाद हो, क्योंकि हम तो तैर के चले जाएंगे, अब आप जो है आपकी तो नैया पूरी डूब गए। आप 75% बोल रहे थे, अब तो आपकी 100% गई। Now the point which I am trying to drive through this story is that we just don't have to focus on knowledge. ज्ञान की बात नहीं करनी है। अगर हम सिर्फ ज्ञान की बात करते रहेंगे तो हम ज्ञानी पैदा करेंगे। अगर हम कॉम्पिटेंस की बात करेंगे, कॉम्पिटेंसीज की बात करेंगे, जहां पे ज्ञान, कौशल और व्यवहार, ये तीसरा एस्पेक्ट भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, विच वी हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू फोकस ऑन, डेवलपिंग एटीट्यूड ऑफ पीपल। लोग पान खा के दरवाजों पे थूकते हैं। हम ट्रेन में चलते हैं तो देखते हैं इतने थूकते हैं लोग बाग ट्रेन के दरवाजों के पास, टॉयलेट में। अभी आई वॉज ट्रेवलिंग, आई सॉ दैट एंड पीपल वर नॉट हैप्पी विद द काइंड ऑफ बिहेवियर दैट दे वर शोइंग। हमें ये चेंज लेके आना, और ये तभी आएगा जब हम होलिस्टिक एजुकेशन की बात करें। वी हैव ऑलवेज फोकस ऑन एजुकेशन, वी नीड टू, एंड दैट इज व्हाई वी नीड टू हैव समग्र शिक्षा, जो स्कीम चली, इंटीग्रेटेड डेवलपमेंट ऑफ अ चाइल्ड। वहाँ पे हमें नॉलेज, स्किल्स और एटीट्यूड पे बहुत ज़्यादा फोकस करना होगा, क्योंकि हम ज्ञान तो बहुत दे रहे हैं, बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू डूइंग, फॉर एग्जांपल वी हैव बीन टीचिंग एनवायरमेंटल साइंस और एनवायरमेंटल स्टडीज, EBS पढ़ा रहे हैं, लेकिन कितने हमने पेड़ बचा लिए, या कितना हमने क्लाइमेट को बचा लिया, कितना हमने, आज हमारी जो हालत है, दिल्ली का पॉल्यूशन देखिए। वी शुड हैव फोकस ऑन ग्रीन जॉब्स, ग्रीन स्किल्स, ग्रीन इकोनॉमी। इसके ऊपर हमें ग्रीन कैंपसेस, ग्रीनिंग स्कूल्स, ग्रीनिंग कॉलेजेस, ग्रीनिंग यूनिवर्सिटीज, एंड नॉट जस्ट ग्रीनिंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ पेड़ लगाओ, सोलर installation, solar panel installations, green energy, then only we'll have a green future. Sustainable development goals तब तक implement नहीं हो सकते जब तक हम green economy की बात ना करें. And this is what we have to through Tvet. Tvet is the answer to all these problems that we are facing. But we need to have a holistic approach. In isolation, if we are doing, or if we are sitting in silos and then talking about, changing the education, it's not going to happen. So everyone has to come together. That is why I said Yog, Udyog, and Sahayog. And Sahayog becomes very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your such an deep insight with different stories and anecdotes. Professor, we have 2 more questions in relation to NEP. Can I place to you, Professor?
Yeah, please.
Omkarji, you got muted.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. NEP 2020 में हम लोक विद्या की बात की है, हम इसे कैसे जोड़ सकते हैं वोकेशनल एजुकेशन से बोल के एक सचिन चौधरी का क्वेश्चन है सर. और दूसरा क्वेश्चन है सेम विसावी. Recent news report shows that India will become most populous in the world by 2023. In Bihar, there is a lack of technical infrastructure. Then how we will use TVET more effective way? ये अजीत कुमार वर्मा का क्वेश्चन है सर YouTube लाइव स्ट्रीम के ऊपर.
So the first one is related to लोक विद्या. इंडिजिनस नॉलेज की जब हम बात करते हैं तो हमारे पास भंडार है ज्ञान का. जैसे हमने जीरो की जो शुरुआत की और उस पर बहुत अच्छा गाना भी है जो मनोज कुमार जी के ऊपर फिल्माया गया था. हम उसको भूल गए. आज कोई उस गाने को याद नहीं करता. मैं गाने की बात कर रहा हूँ. अब गाने की क्यों बात कर रहा हूँ? क्योंकि हमें कल्चर के साथ अपने जोड़ना है. आज गाने किस तरह के बन रहे हैं हम सब जानते हैं. गाने की वर्डिंग्स किसी को याद नहीं रहती है और म्यूजिक इतनी लाउड है कि आपके कान फट जाएंगे कहीं अगर आप बैठे हैं पार्टी में. तो हमने अपने कल्चर को कहाँ ले गए हैं इसके ऊपर पहले सोचने की जरूरत है. हमारे फेस्टिवल्स किधर चले गए हैं इसके ऊपर सोचते हैं. हम क्रैकर्स से हमने लाइटिंग के ऊपर आ गए. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक क्रैकर्स, हमें ये नहीं कह रहे कि हम पॉल्यूशन वाले क्रैकर्स जो हैं बजाय लगाएं या करें यूज करें, लेकिन उससे फायदे क्या थे उसके ऊपर भी हम एनालिसिस करें. हमारे जो पुताई होती थी जिसे हम कहते हैं वाइट वॉश करते थे, किससे करते थे? चूने से करते थे. आज हम केमिकल से पुताई करते हैं. इसी तरह गोबर की बात करें, अगर काऊ डंग की, हमने फार्म्स खत्म कर दिए. शहरों में आसपास कहीं फार्म्स ही नहीं है आपके, तो आज आप काऊ डंग यूज ही नहीं करते, जबकि उससे पूरे घर को लेपा जाता था और उससे इंसेक्ट्स और ये सारी चीजें नहीं आती थी. तो हमने क्या किया, अपनी जो विरासत थी, जो इंडिजिनस नॉलेज थी, आज ट्राइबल्स फिर भी यूज कर रहे हैं उस चीज को और उससे फायदा भी हो रहा है. आप देखिए हम लोग दवाइयों पे आ गए हैं. वी आर ऑन टू केमिकल्स. सब मेडिसिन, हर आदमी, कोई बीपी की, कोई डायबिटीज की, कोई आंख की प्रॉब्लम, किसी को कुछ, सबको क्यों हो रहा है? बिकॉज वी हैव स्विच टू केमिकल्स. हर्बल मेडिसिन को हमने कभी प्रॉपरली जो है उसको समझा ही नहीं और ना अडॉप्ट. नाउ द टाइम हैज कम दैट वी रियलाइज आवर मिस्टेक्स, इंट्रोस्पेक्ट करें कि आर वी ऑन द राइट पाथ. इसी तरह क्राफ्ट्स के, अगर हम टॉयज की बात करें, वी हैव लॉट ऑफ प्लास्टिक टॉयज नाउ विच आर वेरी हार्मफुल, बट वी आर बाइंग दोज प्लास्टिक टॉयज फॉर आवर चिल्ड्रन. जबकि हम लोग ने सबने बचपन में या तो स्टफ टॉय से खेले थे या फिर लकड़ी के टॉय से, जिसका जो बायोडिग्रेडेबल थे. वी कैन यूटिलाइज दोज मटेरियल फॉर अदर पर्पसेस. ये सारी चीजें हमने. So now the national education policy has emphasized on promoting indigenous knowledge with the help of local craftsmen. नहीं तो ये जो हमारी विरासत है ये सब खत्म हो जाएगी धीरे धीरे. जैसे क्ले पॉट्स की बात करें, हम आज भी जो है सुराही लेके आते हैं और फ्रिज का पानी सुराही में डाल के फिर पीते हैं क्योंकि हमें ठंडा पानी चाहिए, लेकिन हम फ्रिज से डायरेक्ट पानी नहीं पीते. दिस इज व्हाट यू कैन, वी ऑल कैन डू. दिस इज अ सिंपल टेक्निक. कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको ज्यादा ठंडा पानी चाहिए आप फ्रिज से लेके सुराही. अब आप इसमें दो चीजें कर रहे हैं। एक तो पहला आप क्ले पॉट्स को या जो पॉटरी का काम कर रहे हैं उनको भी प्रमोट कर रहे हैं, दूसरा आप टेक्नोलॉजी का भी यूज कर रहे हैं। आप यू आर नॉट गेटिंग अवे फ्रॉम द टेक्नोलॉजी, बिकॉज फ्रिज तो आपको घर में चाहिए ही दूसरे पर्पसेस। तीसरी चीज ये है कि आप डायरेक्ट ठंडा पानी नहीं पी रहे, जो कि विच इज वेरी हार्मफुल। जब आप गर्मी से एकदम से आते हैं तो आपको कोल्ड हो सकता है, ये हो सकता है, सो यू आर अवॉइडिंग दैट। एंड देयर आर अदर बेनिफिट्स, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू गेट इनटू दोस डिटेल्स। नो, हम ये नहीं कह रहे, क्योंकि ट्रांजिशन में हमें टाइम लगेगा। हम वापस अगर जाना चाहते हैं अपने ट्रेडिशंस पे, अपने इंडियन कल्चर पे, अपने एथोस पे, इंडियन एथोस पे, तो टाइम लगेगा, लेकिन हमें कहीं शुरुआत तो करनी पड़ेगी। नहीं तो ये सब जो है एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज की तरह हमें सामने आना है। आई गिव यू अनदर एग्जांपल वेयर आप लोग सब टाइपिंग करते हैं ना। आई एम आल्सो सो यूज्ड टू कंप्यूटर। व्हेन इट कम्स टू राइटिंग अ पेज, मेरे को इतने एफर्ट्स करने पड़ते हैं कि मैं बता नहीं सकता हूँ। Why? Because I am losing on writing skills, I am losing on creativity which I had earlier. This will be a skill loss. So there's skill gain, and on the other side there will be a skill loss. So we have to be very cautious in the overuse of anything, including technology. We just can't be like sheep or goats, कि भेड़िया दसान जिसे कहते हैं, जो हम भेड़ की तरह एक तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं, सब लोग जा रहे हैं तो I also go. So we have to avoid all these, disadvantages of technology, of knowledge. क्योंकि जो ऐसी नॉलेज भी आपके सामने रखी जा रही है जो आपको नहीं चाहिए। जैसे आप गूगल खोल के देखिए, उसमें इतनी न्यूज़ ऐसी होती है, you won't believe I have stopped watching news. Why? Because दूरदर्शन जो देखता था और आज की न्यूज़ देखेगा तो वो तो कहीं उसको डाइजेस्ट नहीं होगा। I have stopped reading newspapers, क्योंकि उसमें ऐसी ऐसी कहानियां होती हैं जो आपके टेस्ट के लिए नहीं है। So ये क्या हो रहा है? You are losing on the readers, you are losing on the viewers at the cost of people, and you are developing a very different taste of the people. हमें कहीं ना कहीं इन चीजों पे रोक लगानी पड़ेगी, और अगर नहीं लगाई तो आगे चल के बहुत घातक सिद्ध होगा। So this is what has been emphasized in terms of Lokvidya. There are other aspects which I am not going to get into right now.
Thank you, Professor. Professor, we have three more participants. They have mentioned in the chat box as they would like to ask questions. Can I invite them, Professor?
Yeah, please. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Prasanjit Rai. Prasanjit Rai is a doctoral scholar, sir. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Sir, already I have posted my question, but still I am repeating the question, sir. Sir, in your talk, you have rightly mentioned about the Industrial Revolution 4.0, and you have also in your talk mentions about how we can integrated approach of teaching at the school education, especially the middle school stage. So, sir, since I am working on this field, Industrial Revolution 4.0, or so to say, Education 4.0, so my very specific questions to you, sir, although you have mentioned many of the points, question reduce the gap, and especially in the middle school stage, how this silo education or monocentric education that we are imparting right now, how we can make it in an integrated approach of teaching so far as curriculum is concerned, or so far as the STEM skill is concerned, where we are telling about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics skills. So this is very the need of the hour. So how we can inculcate the STEM skills right from the school, middle school, so that at the stage of the higher education or the tertiary education, this gap between the skills, so far as employment is concerned, can be reduced at a minimum level. Sir, over to you, sir.
I'm sorry, I lost your connection in between. Can you repeat the question particularly?
Yes, sir. So now I
Prasanjit, be very brief in asking your question. Don't elaborate.
Just
ask your question.
Ask your question. Yeah.
Okay, sir. I have written in the chat box also how silo education right from the middle school can be minimized and integrated approach of STEM skills or STEM education can be promoted in order to reduce the gap between industry and academy so far as Industrial Revolution 4.0 is concerned.
Right. So you majorly talk about the STEM and the STEAM that we have now, that is your science, technology, and now we have included in that arts. Now, we need to also understand first why we need to include art in our education system. You might be aware that NCERT has come out with the guidelines on art integrated learning, and it has been accepted very well all across the schools. Now, the reason being that the children, they are understanding the importance of art by integrating with other activities. And the same thing we need to bring in terms of the STEAM. And I gave you one example earlier also, the vermicompost activity, wherein you integrate. Now, if you want to integrate art, you ask children to draw a diagram of earthworm. Now, once they will do, they will be seeing what the picture of the earthworm. They will draw an earthworm. They will learn about the segments and the various parts of the body parts of the earthworm. This is the way we need to make. Now, how it is going to help? It will improve the creativity. You talked about silo education. Now, what is happening is we are not focusing on the creativity of the child. We are simply improving the power of rote learning, the recall power. Now, if you look at the assessment and evaluation, I'll ask you one question. What is the difference between assessment and evaluation? Prasenjit, the question is for you.
Yes, sir. So in assessment, we are judging in a short term, and in evaluation, we are assessing at the whole of the session. That means for assessment is basically from formative stage, but in case of evaluation, we are assessing the student as a whole in a larger perspective.
So I'm sorry, that's not the answer. Now, I'll give you one example of it. There's a nurse who takes a thermometer, puts it under the tongue of a patient for 1.5 minutes, takes it out, and says to the patient that you don't have temperature anymore. Now, what is the assessment? The process. She took a thermometer, puts it under the tongue of the patient for 1.5 minutes, takes it out, and says you don't have. So when she says that you don't have temperature, that means that is the evaluation. That's the result of the assessment. So assessment is the process and evaluation is the outcome of it, the result of it. Now, there are three important aspects in assessment. One is the tool. You need to have the right tool for example, here taking the temperature. So you can have a digital thermometer or a mercury thermometer, right? But if I give you a stick of the same diameter and length, can you take the temperature? Obviously, no. The second is the condition. You need to put that thermometer under the tongue of the patient, not over the tongue. Otherwise, you won't get the temperature. So the condition has to be the same and also proper, means where you need to place that tool. The third is time. So if you take out the thermometer immediately, you won't get the right temperature. Now, these three things are very important in assessment. And what are we doing in terms of the assessment? We are simply testing the recall power of a child by giving him question paper, which is a tool. We give him or her 3 hours. That is the time. And we expect that they give their best performance, whereas the conditions are different. Now, this aspect is very important because if you are placing students in different halls, which we do, or in different conditions is, for all the students are not the same. And you are assessing them on the same parameter or the performance criteria, which is again wrong. So what do we need to do? We need to focus on skills, which we have not been doing in terms of the. So evaluation system, assessment and evaluation system needs a major change in our education system. Until and unless we do that, we will never be able to bring a paradigm shift in our education system from what you said about silo education. Because we have always been working on the inputs, not on the process and the output. And now the time has come that we should also think of the process and output. Just like we say in computer, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So if you are not giving the right instructions, how can you expect that the output would be the right? It's not going to happen. So we need to focus on assessment and evaluation. Rubrics, we need to focus on rubrics in terms of not just the knowledge, but also the skills that you are looking at. We are imparting skills, but we are not assessing the skills. And this is why people are not taking it seriously. So the whole focus is on rote learning and not on experiential learning. Because ultimately the result is what you are seeing. Like I mentioned about that dog story. मैंने सिखा दिया, but उसने सीखा नहीं, अब मैं क्या करूं? वो मेरी सरदर्दी नहीं. Whereas आप एक साबुन भी खरीदने जाते हैं ना, तो आप 10 बार पूछते हैं इसकी क्वालिटी के बारे में, इसके रेट के बारे में, ये एक्सपायरी तो नहीं है इसकी. लेकिन आप स्टूडेंट को जब तैयार करते तो आप उसकी क्वालिटी के बारे में कभी सोचते ही नहीं. आप उसके सिर्फ मार्क्स के बारे में सोचते हैं. And here we are going wrong. Marks is not important. Marks are just a parameter for evaluation. But when it comes to competence, you need to look at the holistic development of the person. Personality training, for example. कपड़े कैसे पहनने हैं आपको, किस समय कौन से कपड़े पहनने हैं, फॉर्मल, नॉन फॉर्मल, क्या है. आज आप एयरपोर्ट पे देखिए लोग किस तरह के ड्रेसेस लेके पहुंच जाते पहन के, शॉर्ट्स, हाफ शर्ट्स, चप्पल में घूम रहे हो. तो जो उनके बगल में वीआईपी ट्रैवल कर रहा है या कोई भी प्रोफेसर ट्रैवल कर रहा है, उसको कैसा लगता होगा आप सोच लो. तो हमें ये चीजों का ध्यान रखना है. एयरपोर्ट तो आपने इतना अच्छा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलप कर दिया, और उसमें लोग कैसे आ रहे हैं, चप्पल, और उसमें कुछ हो सकता है समय आएगी जब नंगे पैर भी आने शुरू हो जाए. तो कहने का मेरा तात्पर्य, व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से हियर इज वी नीड टू ब्रिंग अबाउट दैट काइंड ऑफ डिसिप्लिन, डेकोरम, सिस्टम्स. हम फॉरेन जाते हैं, हम कचरा कहीं नहीं फेंकते क्योंकि पेनल्टी, हैवी पेनल्टी. इंडिया आते हैं, हम सब जगह थूकते फिरते, हॉस्पिटल में सारे दरवाजों पे थूक देते, हॉस्पिटल में, मंदिर के बाहर थूकना हमने देखा है लोगों को. चप्पलें गायब हो जाती हैं लोगों की मंदिर के सामने. वहां जब हम ईमानदारी की बात करते हैं या हम भगवान के पास जाते हैं, तो हम क्या कर रहे हैं? So we have to look at these things. We have to really train them on these skills. These are why I'm saying skills. They are both cognitive skills as well as psychomotor skills. We just have to change their behavior in terms of the teachers have to take this onus. You can't blame the student community for what they are doing. The teachers have to demonstrate values. You can't preach values. You have to demonstrate values. And this is the paradigm shift that we need to bring. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Ma'am, we have one more question to you, ma'am. The question is from Madam Jain with Ms. VP Singh. Ma'am, you can ask, unmute yourself and you can ask. Mr. VP Singh.
I think he might have lost the connection. Can take another question.
Okay, sir. Sir, we have two more questions, sir. One is from Ankita, Miss Ankita, and one, yes.
Good evening, teachers. I am Ankita Rawat, PhD scholar from School of Education, Central University of Gujarat. My question is directed to you, sir. Sir, I was wondering, since industry experience is very important and it is now being talked, skills and attitudes are being talked about, is it also important in social sciences? Because in social sciences, there is a lot of thinking involved when we decide the curriculum of the course, and we often think that industry should not direct what is worth teaching, because social sciences exist to transform society. If we are only answering to the needs of the industry, we are only producing laborers who will be trained, and we have in the recent past moved away from training and towards education when we say that we are going to turn them into critical thinkers. So in social sciences, sir, industry experience, how do we balance industry experience and the social scientists saying that we are ourselves studying and deciding what is worth teaching?
So good evening, Ankita. I think you have asked a very intelligent question and very nice in that sense that we need to really think of that when we are putting a lot of emphasis on vocational education, training or skill development. I have been a strong promulgator of vocational education and training, but with a caution. Always I have been mentioning that we need to have a very strong foundation of general education on which we need to build this vocational education and training. I have never said, and that is why we always talk about vocationalization of education, not vocational education in schools. The reason being that we need to integrate vocational education with general education, and that is vocationalization. But if you take examples from ITI or any other skill development center where the focus is totally on vocational training, I disagree with that kind of system. The reason being that what I was talking about, and you also mentioned about social science, it's not just about developing labor, it's about developing human resource, and that makes a lot of difference. We have people around whom we have to skill. Not skilling doesn't mean that you skill them just for the industry. It means you develop their personality, you develop their communication skills, adaptability, problem solving, creativity. They're like what Prof. MADHURI was talking about, 21st century skills and all those things that we need to develop. Now the point is, we need to give them choices in terms of the aspirations, in terms of interests, in terms of preferences, in terms of also looking at the employment opportunities existing in the world. Like if I take your domain, which is, I just suppose that you are from social science, that if you have learned social science and after that your parents say, now Ankita, you look for some job, what are the choices that you, one particular choice is here, like you can become a teacher. What are the other choices available for you if you don't have skills? For example, you can enter into tourism industry or hospitality or historical, like museum and all those things, you can get employment there. But if you don't have, or you have not been groomed for that kind of employment, then what you will do? You'll be frustrated because your other, friends and all, they got employed and you are sitting at home because you have focused only on the social side. Now here is the difference that we need. When we say industry doesn't mean, and that is why I mentioned about social entrepreneurship. If you remember, in my presentation, I said we need to focus on social entrepreneurship. The reason why I mentioned that, it's not just about making a livelihood or earning money. We all are human beings. We have emotions. We have our personal requirements. We have social requirements. We need to balance all these things. So dynamism comes when you have all those skills. I'll tell you one story of Sardarji, whose wife died, and he tried to wear a pajama and he was not able to put nada into his pajama. Went to his neighbor, उनकी पत्नी ने फिर उसमें पजामे में नाड़ा जो है डाल के दिया और उनको बहुत सुनाया कि वो जब तक भाभी जी जिंदा थी आपने उनकी परवाह नहीं करी, आप सारा काम उनसे कराते रहे और आप नवाब साहब बन के घूमते रहे और आज आप परेशान हो रहे हो. So it's a lesson that we need to learn. from others. हम उसको स्टोरी की तरह सुन के and we ignore कि नहीं हमें क्या जरूरत है. जैसा कहते हैं ना कि हर आदमी अकेला आया और अकेला जाएगा. So living skills also very important, which we have never focused in our schools or colleges. जो कि आपको बटन से स्टिच करने से लेके ये सारी चीजें आनी चाहिए. As an individual, you should learn all those skills. कब कहाँ काम आएगी. आप हॉस्टल में रहने चले गए, वहां पे आपका बटन टूट गया तो आपने बटन स्टिच कर लिया. You don't have to go to the tailor at that moment. हम ये नहीं कह रहे कि सबको शर्ट पैंट सिलनी आनी चाहिए या सलवार कुर्ता सिलना आना चाहिए. नहीं तो टेलर्स की एम्प्लॉयमेंट का क्या होगा, वो तो बेचारे भूखे मर जाएंगे. So this is what I am trying to tell you, that we need to develop a balance. हम कोई भी चीज अगर एक्सट्रीम पे ले जाते हैं, that becomes dangerous. इसी तरह वोकेशनल एजुकेशन ट्रेनिंग पे अगर हम बहुत ज्यादा फोकस करते हैं तो हायर एजुकेशन गायब हो जाएगी. सब जो है वोकेशनल एजुकेशन ट्रेनिंग में लग जाएंगे, which is also not good, because you won't have thinkers, you won't have philosophers, you won't have social scientists, you won't have, ये सब गायब हो जाएंगे. फिर सब जो है वोकेशनल एजुकेशन ट्रेनिंग का गाना गाने लगेंगे, which I'm not going to promulgate that thing. We need to have a balance. हमें skills की जरूरत है. Skills, the moment we say vocational education training, इसका मतलब ठोका पीटी नहीं है. Vocational education training means giving all kinds, or making opportunities or creating opportunities for all kinds of skills, which is living skills, life coping skills, stress management skills, self-management skills. All these skills, when we are teaching, it's all about vocational education. So don't think when we talk of industry means, that is why I said factory nahi hai sab. We are not preparing people for factories. We are preparing people for industries. Now, industry is a bigger connotation. Industry can be from the social aspects, from economical aspect, from personal aspect also. Like I can, अगर मेरे पास बहुत पैसा है, I do social service. That is also an enterprise that social enterprise I can create and help others. So there are a lot of opportunities that we need to create for people. And that is why the government is now focusing on entrepreneurship. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Last question we have, ma'am. Miss V.P. Singh, if you are able to ask to ma'am Madhuri Dubey, ma'am, you can.
Good evening, sir. Myself, Jyoti. सर, मेरा प्रश्न ये है सभी सर से कि अगर जो एक शिक्षक हैं वो अपने विद्यार्थियों को कैसे वोकेशनल एजुकेशन के लिए प्रेरित कर सकते हैं, और क्या क्या स्ट्रेटजीज होती हैं वो क्लास में उसको यूज करें कि वो उनको इंडस्ट्रियल या वोकेशनल एजुकेशन के लिए, क्योंकि अभी अगर आप देखेंगे तो हमारी एजुकेशन सिस्टम में ही नहीं है, तो किस तरीके से हम उसको एनहेंस कर सकते हैं या अपने स्टूडेंट्स को इंस्पायर कर सकते हैं.
So, I've been talking a lot for quite some time. I would request Dr. Madhuri to please, I'll supplement later on. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ma'am, before addressing ma'am, one more question is from SWARUP. He is saying that how can Indian universities provide exposure to society on the vocational skills? What are the barriers on these skills?
हेलेन जी को म्यूट करिए, कौन कर रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
the first
Yeah,
one,
ma'am.
as I understood, is to do with creating interest in vocational subjects. Is that what you are asking? Creating interest, right? Yeah.
Ma'am, both
Yeah,
questions
so-
are similar, ma'am. One is from school perspective, another one is from university perspective.
Okay, having heard Professor MEHROTRA talk in detail about few things, there's part of it is already answered, but I do have certain perspectives which I'll quickly share because I'm sure you are running out of time as well. And also I would be happy to interact with you offline as well. So it's not like we need to complete everything now. You can always reach out to me anytime. Suprabha has my email ID. So I think there are 2 or 3 important things: inspiring children, inspiring at the school level, creating interest. First of all, it's all through, I feel, hands-on. I'll just give you a quick example. Let's say, you are encouraging children to grow a garden in their house. Or if they live in flats, in their balcony, you are encouraging them to grow plants. The activity of growing plants is not just a gardening skill. Along with that, you learn patience. Okay, you learn some kind of creativity, so you learn respect for nature. So you see, this is where I think hands-on is the only way you can create interest at a young level, by demonstrating, by showing. Whether I just gave you an example which just came top of my mind. What I'm trying to say is the technical skill and the non-technical life skill, both of them go together. Partly, I would like to have an interaction with Ankita later, where she raised a very important point, which I feel is slightly different when it comes to interpreting it today. So these are all connected. So I'm just trying to add to. I feel it has to be done practically. Your name is Jyoti. I heard. So it has to be done practically through demonstration, and show that, this is something you enjoy. It's that fun element, that enjoying at that young age. Then I think they're happy, whether it is changing a bulb, or partly it has to be like done in school. Like everything is not industry as in a factory or a commercial establishment. Part of it, like see, during COVID, what happened was lot of vocational practical training was happening from homes. Okay, many training centers, they said, okay, children, now you try doing this at home, whether it was an apparel design or whether it was, a chef, a cooking kind of thing, or so many skills they were trying to, so there are ways in which you can do it. I can go into it in more details later, but I would like to respect the time. So we will, we can do it offline as well. I'm always reachable. Yeah, what was the second question? I didn't get.
Ma'am, second question was on how Indian universities can promote vocational skills and what are the issues and barriers from Saurav Mato.
It's a very big, widely, it covers a wide range. There can be a PhD thesis on this. Yeah, so much of depth is needed. Okay, so tell you very briefly at an overall level, Indian universities have started recognizing that there can be a degree which is partly vocational, which is satisfying the need to have that degree in hand, plus make youth employable through vocational training, like through a BWOC program, and also connect it with apprenticeship, which is industry integrated, work integrated program. So this is already happening. It is not new. UGC has a lot of universities and colleges which are offering BWOC courses in a vast variety of subjects. You can go and check on the UGC website. You will get to know, or you can visit our website. Like Tata Institute of Social Sciences is one of the first institutions in India which started this. Now it has gone to many. But there are issues with quality. There are issues with industry alignment. वो सब तो रहेगा. When you start something new, you can't expect सब कुछ एक ही साल में हो जाएगा. That's not possible. So this is one. The second one, barriers, is what I'm talking about. Barriers is, first is the attitude towards of the society. If a child, if a student wants to do a BWOC in, let us say, phlebotomy, which is a part of like health sciences, where they take your blood samples and all, right? So it is partly into healthcare, partly into pharmacy and all that. So will there be really that recognition? So this social angle for me is a very strong barrier even now. Second one is getting the industry cooperation in training and things like that, because without industry support, degree level vocational program is never a success. So you need to get that proper industry alignment. This has been one of the barriers for higher education in vocational, and that's why only few big brands have been able to do it. And most importantly, I feel there's a lot of dearth of research in vocational education, which I would request researchers at this university, at the Mahatma Gandhi Central University, to embark on a journey in research which is going into the vocational area. You could be perhaps the trailblazing or the pioneering set of researchers who will be into this, and I'd be happy to support you in whatever way I can, because there is a dearth of research to know more about it. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for such an enlightening, connotating talk this evening. So I would like to, with this, I will take 2-3 minutes, briefly propose vote of thanks, and we'll wind up, ma'am. Already we have crossed the time limit with kind permission of respected Dean. So now I will be pleasant good evening to each one of you for being with us today on this evening on World Youth Skill Day. I place my sincere gratitude to Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Anand Prakash for sparing his valuable time with us. So today's program, I briefly begin with the beautiful Saraswati Vandana with the concept in inception of the program Suprabha Day. Gratitude to Suprabha for such a nice beginning. And also I place my sincere gratitude to Dr. Mukesh Kumar Sir, Associate Professor, School of Education, for introducing the guest of the day and all the esteemed members of the program today. With this, Professor Anand Prakash highlighted about the importance of youth skill, and the Government of India initiatives towards the youth in the country. And also Professor Honorable Vice Chancellor emphasized on how university can work in collaboration with a school, different department in the context of higher education, and it is also a responsibility of the schools, department, universities to check out a roadmap for skill education in coming days. These are the key points of Professor Anand Prakash, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Motiari, Bihar. Followed by Professor, respected Dean, Professor Ashish Srivastava Sir has highlighted about the important, the sustainable development goal and how it is emphasizing on the technical vocational skill 4.4. And also Sir has emphasized clearly about the socio-economic fabric in relation to emphasizing the world of work, where we can, how we can push our youth into this, and the need of the nation where demographic dividend is increasing, and the immense importance of the TVET, and how we can reimagine the entire TVET paradigm with education and skilling the education. And also Sir highlighted on the potential of youth skills if we channelize and nurture them properly. And Sir always inspire us to contribute and collaborate with all the different parts of the pan-India programs. And Sir has consistently encouraging us, motivating us to do more and more programs and initiatives in this new young department. And we are happy to, and we are blessed to have the leadership of Sir to organizing all this program. Gratitude to you, Professor, for being with us and inspiring. And all followed by Suprabha Day has given a wonderful introductory presentation on TVET, why there is a requisite of TVET in the context of India, how the demographic dividend of India is and rapid increased globalizations in the needs of the requisite of the TVET in even after pandemic, the importance of TVET, how it has been boom in the context of India. And Suprabha has clearly emphasized about the philosophies of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore and Bapu Mahatma Gandhi in the context of Champaran and in the context of Sriniketan, Shantiniketan, Bolpur. And also Nai Talim and basic education, Suprabha emphasized in her presentation. Thank you, Suprabha, for your nice introductory presentation and introducing the concept of the, and followed by Professor Vinay Sarup Mehrotra, Joint Director, Pandit PVCIT. Sir has clearly in his keynote address, Sir has begin with the importance of networking and coordinating in this era in the 21st century, and how important it is hand-holding the youth and entire general process of lifelong learning in the paradigm of TVET, and also how we can create job opportunities for the coming generations in our youth population. And Sir has clearly emphasized on how we can make our younger population into world of work. That is more important. And most of the time, Sir has stated his real lifelong learning examples and experiences of, and Sir also focus on framework, national vocational skill framework and national qualifications framework. And one of the important aspects, the key takeaways from the Professor Vinay Sarup Mehrotra's presentation, Sir has clearly distinguished two aspects. One is learning outcome and learning objectives. Today, our education system dominantly focusing in cognitive paradigm about on learning objectives, but Sir has clearly mentioned we need to also focus on learning outcome, what we are doing. And then followed by, there is a clear, one of the key theme from the Sir, Yog, Udyog and Swayog, how these three important aspects, one is from Acharya Vinoba Bhave, and other one is 3H formula Mahatma Gandhi's sir has highlighted in his presentation, along with pre-vocational education, vocational interventions, utilizations of the work, upskilling, reskilling, lifelong learning, and also various flagship program of Government of India 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and also sir emphasized and highlighted about data analytics, data science, machine learning, and all the giga workforce and entire the economy, green economy, how we can create in this era coming days. And followed by gratitude to you, Professor, for sparing your valuable time and being with us with all humility for having today. And followed by, we had esteemed scholar, Dr. Madhuri Dubey ma'am. Ma'am started her presentation with her own life experiences of higher education, and such a nice inspiration, ma'am, to hear about your own journey of higher education and how you have shifted from your academic world to a corporate world. And along with, we are truly inspired for about your writing, about blogs, your book on e-learning, and specifically, we are much more inspired in relation to National Skill Networking, NSN, where a new a foundational startup in the India. And now today, it is becoming one of the foundation in entire vocation and skill education. And ma'am also highlighted on ecosystem, where we can focus on skilling ecosystem and vocational ecosystem, and how we can create such kind of ecosystem in the context of India present scenario. And ma'am focus on different skills, 21st century skills, how we are losing most of the time basic skills, and the importance of having all these skills irrespective of the age, class, gender. And ma'am focus on localization, local aspect, local industries, locally available aspect, locally available products, how we can recognize them, how we can identify them, and how we can collaborate with them, and what the kind of outcome we can bring with respect to, particularly ma'am emphasize on Champaran. And ma'am, we are pleased to place before you one of our scholar, Astik Mishra, in her MPhil dissertation. He has outstandingly worked on George Orwell, the land of Champaran, Mahatma's Karma Bhumi. So from the inception of the department, under the leadership of Professor Ashish Srivastava sir, we are exploring continuously the local aspect. We are, even though मुझे तो पहले हिंदी नहीं आती थी, जब मैं यहाँ पे आया था तो बहुत कठिनाई थी, लेकिन आज थोड़ी बातें मैं आपसे कर ले पा रहा हूँ. So the child make me learn, and all my esteemed respected colleagues, from them I learn the language also. And ma'am, you have rightly mentioned the generic part of the entire market and labor force, and also giga economy, entire giga economy. Now something is seriously missing, where, as you rightly mentioned in your presentation with respect to academia and industry, even Professor Vinay Swarup sir also mentioned clearly how we can bridge this gap, the academia and industries, and there is a connect. You are rightly pointing out, madam, industry to university connect and university to industry connect. There is a need to revamping these ecosystems. And with these, ma'am, at the end, place her concern, we need to come out from our comfort zones in order to knowing the vocations, in order to living in the vocations, irrespective of the ages, whichever, whether you are young, whether we are old, in spite of all this. So thank you, ma'am. With all humility, I place my sincere gratitude to you, ma'am, for being with us this evening and giving such an today. Really, हम सही में सौभाग्य है आज कि हम दो esteemed scholars in the field of vocation to be blessed to the Department of Education, School of Education, Mahatma Gandhi Central University today. And at the end, and also I place my sincere gratitude to respected dear colleagues, Dr. Mukesh Kumar sir, Associate Professor, who is always inspirations and guiding behind us in how we can move ahead in various aspects. Sir, gratitude to you for being with us and inspiring. And also place my sincere gratitude to Dr. Manisha Rani ma'am, Dr. Rashmi Srivastava ma'am for their continuous inspiration and being with us and nurturing. At the end, the most important and the important stakeholder of this program today, even now, 80 members are with us in spite of 2.5 hours. So I place my all sincere gratitude to all the esteemed faculty members, prospective research scholars, teachers, research scholars, and students from across the country. Dr. Said Alvi sir also joined from the Army Institute of Education, New Delhi. Some of the colleagues, they joined today, this evening. Happy to see all of them on this virtual platform. So with this, I place my sincere gratitude to each one of you for being with us this evening on World Youth Skill Day. Thank you for making us meaning something today, this evening. Thank you. Namaskar. Namaskar. With kind consent and permission of respected Dean sir, we can wind up the program today, call up the day. Respected Dean sir.
Yes, please. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Professor MEHROTRA and Dr. Dubey. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir.
We will end the program with the national anthem. So I request everyone to please join for the national anthem.
Okay.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ शुभ आशीष माहे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Okay. So thank you, everyone. Yeah, continue, please. Thank you.
Sir,
Thank you.
I place my gratitude to Astik also for anchoring today, coordinating the entire program. Gratitude to you, Astik.
Thank you so much, sir.
Nice coordination.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep it touch.
Wonderful opportunity for
सभी
me.
को पुनः नमस्कार. अब यहाँ से हम प्रोग्राम को साइन अप करते हैं. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Pranam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Ma'am, thank you so much, sir, for your esteemed presence.
Do you have any concern for feedback form?
I have already sent it in the chat box. However,
Okay.
if someone has not got, I'll be posting it in the group.
Also on the YouTube chat box.
Yeah, on the YouTube as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.